Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Today we are doing it. We're giving the developers the feedback that they have recently asked for. Give me just a second to get the chat bot going on here, guys. I apologize. I'm just a little bit late today. Not too much, but just a few minutes. And I'm still sweating. But hey, I'm a sweaty gamer. So you might also notice a little bit different aspect than what we've had in the past. I'm just trying to add a different camera location, see if we can actually get this green screen to cooperate. And if I'm still sweating, it's because I just got back from the gym. I'm freshly showered, but still sweating. But again, sweaty gamer. So, yeah, guys, here it is. Let's pop this up actually, where you guys can see a little bit clearer, and maybe I'll make it just a tiny bit smaller so you can actually see the title here. So, and that's still not working. So the dev team request, that's what you're missing there at the top, a top 5 list of bugs and pain points you would like addressed. So I think this is a serious step in the right direction for ZeniMax Online Studios. I think, today, a couple of weeks ago, guys, we did a copium stream, and I was drinking, chewing on that copium. I know a lot of people think it's a gas, but you can get it in solid form. And I do still have a little bit of copium with me. But here's the thing: today is not a copium stream. Today is not a regardless of everything, seeing things as like positive stream. We're going to be honest. We're going to be open. We're going to be direct, and some of the news will be bad. Okay. And if you're a new player, or maybe if you just you don't want to hear that kind of stuff, guys, it's totally okay to skip this stream. I'm not trying to hate on the game that I love. I'm not trying to hate on anybody personally for for any of the things that are going on here. But there are some real problems, and to pretend like there are not, wrong wrong background, but to pretend like there are not any problems is I mean, it's a bit dishonest, right? Being kind of lying to ourselves, and I don't think it's super productive. So we're going to try to be open. We're going to try to be direct and kind of talk about things, and we're going to try to see if we can figure out a way to come up with to answer these questions. So, anyways, hopefully with that out of the way. Hey, boss, what's going on? Terrell, how you doing? No copium. Let's trash the game. Oh man, Wampus, what's going on? Hey guys, I'm having a problem. I can see you guys on stream, but my combined chat dock here is not working again. So give me just a second to see if I can fix that real quick, and hopefully get it going on. Hey, someone give me a test real quick. Drop some in chat. Either one. Hey, there we go. Juan Carlos, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey, another thing, guys, for those who've been watching for a while, let me know if this camera angle is awkward. I don't know what it looks like. Thank you for the test, guys. I think we're good now. I can see chat. Great, awesome. But yeah, let me know. Let me know about this chat angle if it's awkward here or not, because I'm thinking about playing games like this too. Just trying to figure out something here. All right, with that, let's get started. All right, so dev team. They've requested a list of top 5 bugs. And this is from Kevin. You know what? Let me switch scenes again and let me blow this up a little bit for you guys. I know it cuts a bit off where chat is at. We could maybe move chat to like above me a bit. Let me do that actually, so that that's in a better spot here maybe. There we go. Flat over there. That's a little bit better. Cool. All right, let's take a look. So, hi all. In our continued efforts towards improving communication and addressing community concerns, we would like to ask for you to share your top 5 long-standing bugs/issues and top 5 pain points you would like to see us address, no matter how big or small. We will go through the results and work towards addressing these 2 lists. While we may not be able to hit everything, the goal is that this is a living list that helps us prioritize the most important bugs/issues and pain points going forward. I mean, this is great news to hear. The other thing, guys, is while this isn't a copium stream, I am going to try to look at this in the most positive light possible, just to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. This is great. All right, this is really good. Like to hear this. Pain points could be anything that creates friction or takes away from your enjoyment of ESO. For example, we've heard from all of you in the past. Uh, wait, we've heard from all of you in the past include not being able to, okay, I guess including not being able to, there's just a little bit of a typo there, including not being able to search for a specific guild name in the Guild Finder tool, the world map being confusing / overwhelming, or a lack or or lack of a mini map making it hard to navigate the world. I just want to say they've started to address this world map stuff, it being confusing / overwhelming, and I don't know if they understand the assignment. I don't know if they understand what's really wrong with it. It is a problem when there are so many icons, and I think the recent changes to the minimap that I've seen on PTS, we could load it up here in a second to look at, they actually look great. But the problem with the maps is that looking at the minimap is incredibly difficult to read, okay? I am someone who was in the military, and then when I got out of so you do land navigation in the military, and then when I got, which means a compass and a map, okay? And then when I got out of the military, I have hiked extensively. I've lived outside when you combine the time for literal years of my life. I know how to read a topographical map. I know how to do dead reckoning. I know how to, I know a pace count. I know how to figure out where I am based on, I know how to read a map, okay? The ESO maps are garbage. They're like S tier garbage. The number of times that you go to a way shrine because it's the closest point and you don't realize that there's a mountain ridge or something else in between you and that point, and they do this somewhat intentionally to make things where you got to go around. It's annoying, it's frustrating, and it's just the map is kind of garbage, to be totally honest with you. And I don't think that they understand that. Voss Boss says, "Shake my head. I can smell your sweet fix on the your sweat fix on the camera." Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sweaty gamer. I don't know what to tell you. Carlos says, "Add this bug. Crown store items are more visually appealing and more numerous than in-game rewards." Yeah, absolutely. That would be a pain point. Yeah, the Crown Store, everything is better in the Crown Store, and it kind of feels like there's not a whole lot of reason to do a lot of in-game rewards. Melistray, Melistray is asking, aka Mel, sorry, is asking, is this a copium stream? Mel, this is not a copium stream, and I actually gave that disclaimer earlier. Let me check. Let me see if we got some people dropping in here. Oh yeah, we got people dropping in. Okay, cool. Let's see how we. Okay, not that many on Twitch. It's weird. Sometimes there's a lot of people on Twitch. Sometimes a lot of people on YouTube. Guys, just to make this absolutely clear, we're gonna be open. We're gonna be honest. I am gonna try. I want to give. So, just like I would do a review of a game, I want to assume the best out of the other side unless I know otherwise. And so, it might be a little bit rose-colored, right? Especially if you've been playing the game for a long time and maybe you feel a little bit jaded. But yeah, this is not a copium stream. We are going to talk about some of the serious issues. I mean, kind of the first one, honestly, that comes to mind, and we'll get there. I'm not going to go into it right now. Is just a whole lot like there is them asking for this is a good thing for them to do, but there are issues with this, and there are reasons why people, could be mad. All right, but yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, lack of a mini map making it hard to navigate the world for sure. The map again just is like incredibly bad. And what they did on PTS is that they made it where when you're zoomed out, like there's only a couple of way shrines. We talked about this a little bit, guys, but I've actually checked it out on PTS. Like it'll only show like one or two way shrines, maybe one in a particular zone when you're on the world map. And then when you zoom in, you can see more. And then the other thing is you zoom in, stuff will fade into view. It looks beautiful. The issue for me is basically what they've done is said, okay, well, instead of this thing being always displayed always at this size, now it displays at a variable size and it fades in. Yes, does it look good? Yes. Is it an improvement to the game? Also, yes. Is it that big of an improvement to the mapping system? Not really. It does make the game look great. I'm glad they're doing it. But the issue is not being able to figure out how do I get from point A to point B by looking at a map, because that's the whole point of a map. Wampus says, "What?" We all love the disappearing bird boss in VCR, don't we? Hey, that's a good one. Boss is resetting when you go to pool. That's a good bug. And yeah, we're gonna go through, guys, and talk about all of your. I want to hear from everybody what their favorite. Give me the list of bugs and pain points. All right, let's finish reading. So pain points could be anything that creates friction or takes away from your enjoyment in ESO. Okay, creates friction or takes away from your cool. I love this. I think these are the right kind of questions to ask. They're addressing the bugs, which they absolutely should, and then they're also addressing other issues, pain points that we have. As Juan Carlos mentioned, why are the Crown Store items so much better than anything we can get in game? Why does it feel like that? Why does it feel like there's not as many, in-game rewards? And we could talk about that. I will note that there are games that commit to making sure that the rewards in game are the best rewards that you can get. Absolutely. So there are games that do that, that do the right thing. Will ESO do that? Probably not. But could they improve it? Maybe so. So that's why we want to give them these kind of feedback. So we've gone through that. Okay. So also just to save some time, you do not need. Sorry, let me look over here. Make sure you guys can read all this. Yeah, you can. Also, just to save time, you do not need to include the stuck in combat bug. This is mostly for the PvPers out there. The dev team is aware and has it on the list already, and it came up many times when we gathered questions for the general PvP Q&A that is coming later in February. Incidentally, we will have an update on it in that Q&A. Okay, cool. To help us keep this list as easy to read as possible, please respond in the following format. Voss Boss says animation desyncs on certain skills. Small thing, but I figure I'd mention it. Yeah, absolutely. I main Plar. I've got 2 of them, and Jabs and Beam have a chance to bug out visually and shift your tune heavy, your tune heavy attacks. Yeah, and Voss, I don't know about on a Templar, but the Arcanist one seems like it's recent that it's been bugging out. Has it been the same on Templar? I think it is, but it could have been a patch or 2 before. I don't know exactly when it started, to be totally honest with you. I've got 18, 20 tunes or whatever, so I'm not always doing jabs on, in any given patch. And then Mel says, because it's the first thing I normally say. Wait, hold on, I missed that, Mel. All right, so they offered a list and a way that they would like things posted. I think this is great. This will make it easy for them to parse through the data. And in fact, they could get a bot to do it. I'm normally complaining about stuck in combat. Mel, okay. The stuck in combat thing. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I mean, for most PvPers, that's a huge problem. And that, or a huge pain point. So this is good. I like this. And I want to say that in this particular case, I would be totally fine with them deleting comments of anybody who put a comment in this thread, not in this format. In this one particular case, I normally feel like give feedback however you want to give feedback, what have you. In this case, they're trying to combine a lot of feedback. They're asking for it all at once, and they're saying, hey, please give it to us in this format. Guys, if you're going to go give feedback, please listen to this and please give it in this format. I think this is just to help them out so that they can look through it. I would encourage you to do that. I will notice that the first couple of comments I saw do not do this. And I think that I would not be upset with Zoss, regardless of how good or bad these comments are. We'll look at them in a second. I would not be upset with them if they deleted or hid these comments, just to be clear. Okay, so we also ask that everyone please create only one post and do your best to stick to the prompt. Cool. Having conversations in the thread will make it harder for us to review and collate your contributions and could derail the main prompt. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with this. Sorry, guys, we got some cooking in the background. There'll be a little bit of beeping going on here. We would like to avoid both scenarios, so sticking to the one post prompt is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to have a discussion about something in this thread, we encourage you to start a new thread and have the conversation there. Sounds good. I will note, if you want to have a conversation with other people playing ESO about some things in ESO, this is a great idea. Or probably you'll just do it in your own Discord, right? And I want to be careful about what I say here. I have a friend who's done some of the math on this, who's in the industry, and friend out there, if you know who you are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I'll try to be very careful with what I say. They don't think that there are enough community managers that are actually looking at what is being said in the forums here for them to even possibly get all of this data of issues that people have. And this is somebody, again, who would know, and someone who has been fairly active. I will also note, if you are really upset with a game, guys, writing to them in, so that we kind of have to go over something here. Remember, there are two kinds of companies and two ways of dealing with PR, right? With public relations. There is one that you're a good company trying to make a quality product. You want to treat your customers and your employees well, with respect, and provide a good product at a good value for them. Okay, that's situation one. Situation two is you are not a good company who in some way does not treat your customers or your employees with respect, and who also isn't that concerned with making a great product at a fair value. Okay, if you are company one, then asking for people to give you feedback in a place like this is a good thing to do, because that's the easiest way for you to grab feedback. Now, I would argue that if you're a good company and you're acting in good faith and trying to make the best product you can, you will go out of your way to get feedback from your customers any way you can. And I think we see that very clearly in a lot of businesses. Now, if you are a company that does not do those things, does not listen to your customers, does not listen to feedback, doesn't care about your customers, or maybe your employees, or both, or whatever, doesn't really care as much about the product you're making, you want everybody to put their negative feedback in your forums, because nobody who's thinking about buying the product will ever look at it. Okay, so if you really are mad at something and you don't think that it's a quote unquote good company, as we've defined it here, then everywhere but on that company's personal forums is where you should be giving that feedback, because that's the only place that will affect their bottom line. And for most companies, and again, for these kind of companies, that's the only way you're going to get them to ever do anything. I personally think that ESO is the second tier of company, but maybe they're trying to turn it around, and it's fine still to give feedback like this, I think, in a good place. Voss Boss says, I've noticed a couple of patches ago, and it's been consistently, Voss Boss is speaking in reference to the bugs with the beam and the Arcanist jabs. And they say that they've noticed a couple of patches ago, and it's been consistently occurring for them. It's obnoxious, especially in deep execute or PvP. Yeah, fair enough. And then, and I found that in the Endless Archive. It was happened to me the other day on our new 1-bar Arcanist beam build. Robert Miller, what's going on, Robert, says that first post about Grave Lords is true, but not a bug fix. It's basically useless morph. Okay. It either needs a longer time or an immense bump for the duration. Man, we could talk about skills, Robert. We can get into that. That'll be fun. I've got a lot of thoughts on that. All right, cool. Where are we at? If you see the prompt and you agree, please feel welcome to use agree reaction in the bottom right corner of the post to note your agreement. This will help us when reviewing comments. Please note, we aren't counting reaction as votes. Everyone's top 5 are valid. All right. As always, please keep the community guidelines in mind as you provide your feedback. Thanks in advance for your feedback and opportunities to address some of your top bugs and issues. Cool. All right. Well, Kevin here is one of the community managers, and I think one of 3 that are usually keeping an eye on the forums and actually responding to things. So, man, where should we start? So I think one of the things to start with here is, maybe we don't want to start there. Where should we start, guys? Where do we want to start talking about this? Let's read some of these forum posts. I'll also note here that we are not going to do what I've seen other creators do, which is they go in here and they go into the forums and they start bashing on people. I almost decided to block out. This stuff is public, but I almost decided to block out these people. Guys, we're not going to harass anybody, and if anybody says anything crazy, we're just going to be like, all right, we're going to move on. We're not going to say anything about it. We're just going to move on to other things. Okay, so I don't, maybe this person dropped this comment before there was an update on how they would like the feedback presented. So let's just say that maybe that's what happened here. Gravelord's sacrifice is a mess. It's not worth using over blighted blast bones. Okay, like all wonky blastbone iterations, it will often bug out and not fire correctly. It was added to reduce complexity, but the current version actually adds complexity to Necromancer rotation. Oh, man. And this is the thing that Robert was saying, this is true. Furthermore, it's still labeled as stalking blast bones. The sacrificial bones / Gravelord's sacrifice spell was apparently to be was apparently to be closely watched. However, it has gone unchanged for a year. Okay, yeah, all right. It was supposed to be closely watched, and they haven't done anything. It sucks to have a magical morph that is obviously worse in every way to the stamina morph. Yeah, yeah. Basically, they changed this from like using one morph to using the other morph. Hey, what's up, Odian? Like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys. Also, I want to give a shout out to some of our channel members. We'll do so later, but if you want to support the channel, it's one of the best ways. Robert says, I like the status effect buff on it, but I think its 6 second duration is way too short for the buff. Robert, that's actually something that we could talk about that would be maybe a pain point here, because one of the issues, and it's really funny because the developers have said they think it's a feature. Well, they'll have buffs. So let's use Mage's Guild as one of many examples, okay? Mage's Guild, there's a passive there that you can get once you level it up, that whenever you use a Mage's Guild ability, for 10 seconds, it provides Empower. Empower is what makes your heavy attacks do 70% more damage. For those of you who don't know, it's a required buff for any heavy attack. There are a lot of skills that do the same thing, where there's a 10-second buff, but all the Mage's Guild abilities are 20 or 22 seconds. Hey, Nani, how's it going? Hey, all, what's going on? Glenn. There are things in that. A couple of channel members, by the way, drop it in and saying hello. Appreciate you guys. Nani's like gung ho. I'm like, Nani, you can't. Don't subscribe to everything. I appreciate all the support, Nani. It's awesome. Nani, I should be subscribing to you with all you do for the Discord and all you do to help with trials. Anyway, sorry, back to the point. With the skills, it's crazy to have a skill that is 20 seconds and then has this weird buff that's 10 seconds. I have tried to use Mage's Guild skills to buff heavy attacks, and it does not work. Is it horrible? To use? Yeah, it's kind of terrible to use. It feels horrible. Does it kind of work? Yes. You lose, I don't remember how much, but you lose a significant amount of damage. Enough that I've never done a build on it because I thought it was inferior in every way to doing something else. And they have a bunch of buffs that are like this, that have a 10-second duration, and the developers have said that they think, oh, it makes for interesting gameplay, and like, oh, what do you got to decide if you want to recast that skill early. No, nobody decides if they're going to, nobody recast that skill early. It's so awkward to have a 10-second. I mean, it's just even people that are really into sweaty stuff, which would be the only people that would want to do something like that, don't do it because it's not optimal. So it's a feature that literally no one uses and should just be taken out of the game. And honestly, they should just make the buffs as long as the skill. You don't need to do anything super fancy or whatever. Like it's kind of like someone who doesn't know, with all the other issues in the game, it's kind of like someone who doesn't know the basics trying to do something incredibly advanced and they think is clever. And you're like, nah, dude, no, it's like a tank who's trying to keep up stagger and who has been dying over and over again. And you're like, dude, don't try to keep up stagger, please. You're just killing yourself and the rest of the group. Just do the basics here, get those down, and then we can move on to something else. It's like ESO, you don't need to be doing something this complex. You just need to get the basics down here. Allmy says, sounds like a pain point. Gee, I wonder why I don't use those. Yeah, exactly. And I'm using as an example Empower. The other issue is that there is a source of Empower in like 50% of the classes. Last I checked, it could be all of them now, but it was like 50%. However, Templar is the only one where it's really good. Most of the other classes, Nightblade, DK, I bet Sork has one. Maybe most classes have one. They're just not good. DK heavy attack builds just suck. They just don't do as much damage. Necro heavy attack builds also don't do very well because heavy attack with your main source of damage being blast bones doesn't work super well. I've tried all these things quite a bit. You can do it, guys, and it's fine, but it's like inferior in every way to like a Sork heavy attack build or a Templar heavy attack build. And so it's like, why is there not some symmetry here where there's an easy to play way for each class, right? Like, why isn't that? That's a pain point, is that there's not a lot of symmetry around how easy or difficult a class is. The Arcanist, absolutely a pay to win class, like, right? Like, and pay to win, like whatever you want. I'm not trying to die on that hill, but it's absolutely a class where it's like you pay for this class and you get all the good things. And it's still completely broken compared to every other class in the game as far as its ease of use and everything else. And I don't mind it. I just think that they need to buff the other classes to where they're at a similar place and to where they can have a similar simple play style that is good for everybody. And then if you want to add, an extra 30% damage at the very top end by being super sweaty and doing a super complicated build, you can do that still. And then everybody's happy. It's easier for the casual players, your average player, and it's good for everybody else. But I think making sure that there's an empower source from everybody, you can just tack it on to a random dot that everybody wants to use anyways, and it's easy, it's done. But also making sure that all those buff up times are the same as the skill duration. There's just no reason not to do it. Robert Miller says, and heavy attack builds are super survivable. Each class should have a form of that. Absolutely, exactly what I'm trying to say, Robert. Thank you. That's some feedback I guess we should probably give him. Wedemar says, staying in combat and PvP in the tank healer dungeon finder bug. Yeah, Wedemar, it's actually the PvP bug. The staying in combat is like already listed as like you don't need to include it. Yeah, guys, let's go ahead and start here. Let's start with bugs. I kind of went a little bit off script there with talking about pain points. Let's talk about bugs. What are your top 10 bugs? As I'll finish reading through the comments here, but drop them in the comments. Let's talk about it. Vossboss says, speaking of 10-second buffs, special shout out to werewolves who have to build their entire awkward rotation around a 10-second buff. They got a double cast without expiring, making it 9 seconds. Vossboss, that's exactly the stuff. Thank you. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And it is a huge issue. One hack, shout out to Mel here. Mel, I thought your hack was amazing. Mel said, if they're gonna limit us to 5, whenever I press a button, and excuse me as I paraphrase, whenever I press a button, I want the thing to work. Okay, whether that's a synergy in Cloud Rest or someplace else, the synergy to jump up doesn't work sometimes. I want the thing to work. Unpinning people in Sunspire, that's another synergy that doesn't work. Sometimes drinking a potion happened to me the other day. It makes the sound. It sounds like I'm drinking a potion. I click the button. Clearly it went through somewhere. The potion isn't drank and doesn't go on cooldown, and then I died because of it. But that's a case of I press the button, I want it to work. Roll dodging. I've done videos where I've slowed things down and done shorts and been like, hey, here is a case of I roll dodged and I died in the middle of the roll dodge. And this happens periodically where it'll just happen. Another thing, block. If I hold the block button, I want my character to block. The block is still bugged. And it's a problem. You can absolutely like hit block and if you feather it or whatever, you'll look like you're blocking, but your block will not be up, and it's absolutely annoying. Hey Joel, what's going on? Hey Dentasti, welcome everybody. Welcome to the stream, guys. We're accepting. Tell us about your top 5 bugs. Let's talk about it. That's what we're doing right now. For those just joining. Mel says dodge rolling the wave in VDSR. Yeah, absolutely. And part of the problem with this, guys, just to make this really clear, is that there are achievements for doing kind of perfect runs of things, whether that's solo content like VMA or Vadasham Hollows, or if it's dungeons or trials. There are situations where you're supposed to go in and be perfect. Nobody should die, right? You still got to do things in a certain time period, and you got to do all the hard modes, right, to get the trifectas in those cases. If the game doesn't work right and block doesn't work sometimes, or a synergy doesn't work, or roll dodge doesn't work, those are game breaking and absolutely frustrating. You spent all this time, you've spent months and months, and now you die because the game doesn't work right. And currently what the situation is those teams are just so good that they can do it perfectly multiple times in a row. And one of those times the game will work right. And that's incredibly frustrating and also kind of just upsetting in general for those people and for the game. Robert Miller says, other than the combat bug, I haven't experienced very many bugs in game, to be honest. Robert, I bet you have. You probably just haven't noticed them as of yet, would be my guess. Because there are actually quite a few. But I'm glad that you've had a good experience. That's great to hear. But there are quite a few, and they're kind of broken, some of them. Brandon says, skills not casting, but giving you the indication that you pressed the skill and even saw the animation on the ground, but not actually fired. Exactly. It's kind of what we were talking about. Hey, yeah, and then did Tassie saying hello. Mel saying poor tanks and block bugs. Yeah, that's one of the things that we see kind of this a little bit of cognitive dissonance with. Hold on just one second, guys. Hey, Google, turn on the downstairs lights to 100%. Let me get the lights on. I just had to talk to Google, and I didn't want to turn everybody's lights on. Um, one of the things that they've done is they've done these streams where they're trying to teach, oh, tanks, it's not scary to tank and everything. One of the major problems with being a tank right now is that block and other abilities don't work. And when you're a DPS and an ability doesn't work, you do less DPS. When you're a tank and an ability doesn't work, you die and you wipe the group. And that doesn't feel good. And the other thing is that, and I see this all the time, a lot of the tanks, they don't know if it's them or if it's the game, and most people blame themselves. And there are people that have quit tanking because they felt like it was too hard and it was not their fault. Sometimes you shoot off a taunt and it hits and then it doesn't taunt the creature. I've had situations I have plenty of clips from my live streams where this stuff happens. I had one where a friend of mine, Miles, was like, just like, he was mad. He was just like, oh my God, dude. Like, because he thought that someone blew everybody up on a hard mode in Basai in Rockgrove and blew up the whole group. It was me. And I sent him the clip, and it's me, and it never touched me. But yet I blew up, and it was clear it was me because I got cursed and everybody around me died. But I was never anywhere close to the AoE. And that's the kind of stuff that's like super frustrating when you're trying to do something very difficult and you have these bugs that are kind of breaking the game. Now, that we were friends and he was pissed off and I showed him the video. Most people aren't recording, right? Most people aren't that close of friends, okay? And so you would just be like, yeah, I must have been inside the AoE, despite the clear evidence that on my screen I never was. And that's the kind of stuff that really ruins the experience for new players. And that's what I'm talking about. I am concerned for the new players having that bad experience. We got some block bug, or I'm sorry, we got some bugs rolling in here. Let me read through the list, guys. Love the engagement here. So Mel says, yeah, poor tanks and block bugs, right? Joel says, blocking and potions are the top of my list since trying to learn how to tank with those failing are really frustrating. Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating for new tanks, and that's why we don't have enough. You don't need to do a live stream about how tanking is fun and it's okay. I mean, yeah, sure, that's great, but like maybe you could have fixed the block bug that's been in the game for like 2 years. Just throwing it out there. Nani says, I have to always explain that it is a 50% skill and 50% RNG. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, it's really hard to provide good feedback for tanks whenever you don't know. Like sometimes I'm looking at a tank and I see them doing something wrong and I know what they're doing and they might feel like it's a bug. And that's the other thing. And you got to be like, no, you're doing this wrong, or no, that doesn't work the way you think it does. But it's really hard if I wasn't looking, I don't know. I don't know if it's this person has a bad connection and they're having issues, or if it really is the game. And so I know now, because I've been playing the game for long enough, that I know that there are some serious bugs that I always give the tank and anybody really the benefit of the doubt. Because if they tell me, I've seen some crazy stuff and people have not believed me. I was in a VKA hard mode prog years ago and we got to the second boss and he just wouldn't take taunt. It was hilarious in hindsight, but it was really frustrating because we've been going for months and months. And it was to the point where like we either needed to clear or the group was going to fall apart, right? And we're in there and the boss he just went around and was just one-shotting people. And it was like the tank's like, I'm taunting. Now that was an experienced group and we were like, yeah, clearly it's broken. And so I think that was the first time I got my like VCR +1 clear, because we just left. We were like, well, the instance is broken, clearly. And there's nothing, and that happens. Instances break. And so we just left, went to Cloud Rest and like cleared like a +1. And I basically got carried because it was, I'd done Cloud Rest a decent amount, but I'd always with beginning and training groups and stuff. And so I'd never cleared it and got my first clear that way because it was like we didn't have time to redo VKA hard mode again and get to the last boss, which is what we were progging on, so we just did something else. Terrell says, getting killed mid-roll is definitely up there for me. Yeah, absolutely. And I have clips on the channel of dying mid-dodge roll to attack that should be roll dodged. And then Babe says, Babe, I apologize because it's, Babe, I won't pause it. I was seeing babble, and I apologize. I know you know that. I know you don't care too much, but I apologize. Babe says, imagine being a tank without a block. Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, and good to see you. Good to see you, man. Joseph says, the problem is that I quit after watching Nefis's video. I quit Destiny 2. I'm not which Nefis's video, Joseph. I quit Destiny 2 after 2,000 hours because their CEO was a jerk. He didn't say jerk. I'm just going to leave that. Came to ESO, played 500 hours, and the way Gina treated Nefis was atrocious. Hey, Joseph, I just want to let you know that I've been in groups with Nefis when he has been so mean to people that they left the group and they quit. Nefis also used to do videos where he would basically make fun of people and be mean to people on the internet for no reason. And I actually got to be the subject of one of those videos. Now, I'm fair game because I'm a public figure and I do YouTube here. I don't mind it. That's fine. But he was doing it to random people in the forums and random people in game. So Nefis kind of played the victim with that video a bit. I'm not saying Gina's great. I don't really know or care, but he was playing a little bit the victim there. And does Zoss, not care as much as they should about, in this particular, I think in his case, it had to do with something that a group of Asian players were trying to do. Sure, but corporations don't care about equality and equity. Like they just don't. They care about money, and so yeah, sure, that could have been part of the deal. That's not good. Zoss has also done some other stuff that people who were trans have had issues with. I don't know about the specifics of either one of those situations, but it doesn't surprise me that an evil corp is an evil corp. But yeah, Nefis played a bit the victim there, just to be clear. I don't think that is, being really mean to people on the internet who aren't public figures is, you could be liable for some of that stuff, to be totally honest with you. He could have been sued for some of that stuff, I think. Anyways, he's not a victim. Almai says, skills not casting or multiple button presses to get a skill to go off. I find that the worst on an Arcanist beam. Yeah, for sure. Robert's commiserating with us. He says, man, that would be bad. I think he's talking about the tank bugs. And then taking bugs should be top priority if the tank bugs out. Yeah, the team wipes. Exactly, Robert. Yeah. Vossboss says, another small one. I love hitting my potion button and hearing it fire. Yep, but it isn't actually consumed, and I died to sustain issues. The most insulting part is the sound effect. Will still play. Yeah, 100%. It's kind of nice, because you know that you hit the button, but it's also frustrating that it doesn't go off. At least Almai says the still in combat bug in PvP is one of the most frustrating bugs there is. Dive, resurrect, and then suffer several seconds of status effects, etc., before one can even mount. Nani says, Lord Fart, which I think is she's referring to the last boss in VKA, randomly running around on the second floor. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nani was having this problem the other day where she was taunting him. Taunt shows that it's up, and then he just turns and runs away. This is happening with that boss, but this has happened many times with different bosses and at different points during the game. Another issue is beside the abominations. Oftentimes, if they're coming from really far away, you have to taunt them twice because they'll start to come, and then midway through they'll just turn and run off. I actually did a short where I joked about global warming coming to Tamriel because I was in a VKA with Nani, and she was raid leading, I was tanking, and I fired off my ice staff. And I said it must have melted on the way because it clearly hit the boss or hit the ad, and the ad started to walk. No, I don't think it did. It just turned and ran and hit one shot Nani. And Nani was like, Knight, why aren't you taunting this stuff? And I was like, I promise I taunted. So I went back and I clipped it and made a short out of it. But it was joking about global warming. Clearly my ice staff must have, the taunt must have melted along the way. Don Cake says, not a bug, but a pain point. Fake Q for dungeon rolls. If Q as a tank can have 22k health, you are not a tank. Build some minimum guardrails for Q. Don, I would love to talk more about that. I actually think that this is one of my major top bugs here. And I'm sorry, guys, we're almost caught up on chat. The Q, the random normal Q is broken. I was using it last night, and it's completely broken. It doesn't work. You'll be sitting in queue for 20 minutes. All of a sudden, you'll do something, pass lead, delete the group, make a new group, and then you'll instantly queue. And it's so suspicious. Like, it's clearly broken. It's clearly not working, but you only know that from being in queue a bunch. You sit in queue for 30 minutes, and it doesn't matter if you're a tank. You sit in queue for 30 minutes. It's like, no, tanks basically queue instantly because there's not enough tanks in the game, because block doesn't work and skills don't work in the game. So why would you want to be a tank? I will say with this Dawn Cakes, so there are some very experienced tanks like myself who've tanked, a bunch of stuff in the game, and I only fake tank because on random normals, because I first off, I can do it and stay alive. I can do the job, and so am I fake tanking if I have a taunt and I can stay alive? Not really. So I understand that there, but my health might be low, and so I mean 22k. I don't know. Even then, on a random normal, yeah, that could be totally fine. And so I get it. It's kind of a little bit hard. I think the problem, the other thing is that there's, and people name call, so I don't really like doing it, but other people will name call and be like fake DPS. I have been a fake tank and done 60 to 70% of the damage before. And it's like, if I wasn't there, I don't know if the group would have gotten through the content. And so if I need to do a random normal on my tanks, I have a DPS build that I take for them. And so there is kind of a problem there. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had somebody the other day, again, I was trying to farm some gear last night, and we had a healer who was in PvP gear. And then they were only heavy attacking and sometimes light attacking, and literally 0 heals. If you're going to queue as a healer, it's the same thing. I don't care if you're fake healing. You should have a couple. You fake everything. Yeah, exactly. You should have a couple of heals on your bar, and I think if it's a random normal, that's enough. If it's a dungeon, like a veteran dungeon, then yeah, you should probably be appropriate for the role that you're doing. So yeah, I don't know, man. I with you. I feel your pain. It is frustrating when people come into content not ready for it, and so some minimum guardrails along that, like some, you could do a rating system. There's a lot of things you could do that would like put people lower in queue if they get negative ratings because they're doing things. Oh, audio cut out there for a second. For me, so the other thing is that, like, I've been in situations with a group where I was really doing everything right. I was on my actual tank, but I had double ice staffs, and I got kicked from the group because they thought I was fake tanking. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's issues with that all around. I think the real solution to that problem, just to actually talk about this, like, I know we're going in depth, but that's kind of what the stream is about this one particular point. I think one of the real solution to that would be make random veterans give significantly more rewards, so that people that can do a random veteran dungeon will want to do that versus a random normal. And then you won't have people like me going in there fake tanking, because I only fake tank random normals, because to do anything else takes 3 times as long and is painful as hell. And again, I did this with my wife last night, and we got with multiple groups with people that were low CP or no CP, and we're just leveling up, and we carried them through a DLC dungeon that was new, and they had a good time, we had a good time, and everything was fine, right? So it can be totally fine, but if we separated those groups so that these groups don't have to run together that don't want to, I think we would have less problems. And then if we also did some sort of rating system or any number of other ways of dealing with it, but I do feel your pain. It really is a problem, so don't think that I'm discounting that at all. Babe says that is okay with me, Nani. I completely understand. Okay, what are we? Oh, sorry. I skipped some stuff. Babe says, it's all good, man. I got Babe's name wrong. It's calling Babel. Lots of people say Babel, or pause, man. Okay. And then Nani says, no apology here. It happens. Don't get too upset if people get your name wrong on accident. I get called Kite Arrow or Night Arrow all the time, and who cares? Doesn't matter. What am I missing? He hair got weird and annoying. I'm not sure what that's in wrong way. What that's in reference to, man. Sorry. That's fair enough. I wasn't aware of his history. Oh man, sorry. That was from a bit ago. That's from Joseph. I'm not sure what that was. I should know what that was in relation to. Oh, that was in relationship to Nephis. Yeah, man. And again, like, what was Gina like out of line? Like, she seemed pretty out of line, and from someone who you expect that's the PR person. That's the person that should be public facing. You expect a higher standard. I've criticized Gina for not doing essentially what I thought was a minimum in the past. It's here or there, man. But yeah, I appreciate it. And we also, the other thing is like, we want to try to judge. I want to be judged by my best situation, not by my worst. So, I hope that everybody learns and grows. I think Nefis has taken those videos down, so I hope he's learned and grown from that. It was just odd that he was kind of playing the victim in that sense. Mel says those A-bombs are healer killers. Yeah, Mel has been victim to an A-bomb dropping my taunt, and it going and killing her. She's also been victim to me missing that taunt and taunting something else instead. I'm sorry, Mel. Terrell says melt on the way. Yeah, okay, you appreciated that. Oh, man. Yeah, ads ain't listening to stuff lately. Wrong Way says, yeah, it happens. Vatishram pulls seem to fail quite a bit as well. Okay. That's interesting. Robert says there should be a minimum requirement for joining a queue like that. Taunt on the bar, sword and board equipped, or something. Yeah, not sword and board because I double eye staff tank all the time, right? But yeah, I'm with you. This has been talked about before, but there are games that will add a rating system at the end of whatever you're doing. And when you have that, and you have to rate people, good or bad, what happen, and that affects them in game. What happens is people become really nice. Okay. So one of the things that I and a lot of in-game players do is if you see somebody new and you're helping them do something, maybe you have a chance to talk to them, interact with them, right? Sometimes you find out like, oh, this person is pretty clueless. They kind of don't know what's going on. Like, let me help them out, right? Like, do you have a mount? Oh, you don't have a mount. Okay. You're like, oh yeah, trying to save up 1,000 gold to get this thing. And you're like, okay. Sometimes we make it rain on them. Don't be that person asking. I'll never give to anybody who's asking, certainly not in zone chat, but we'll help them and carry them through some content, talk to them for a minute, give them some tips, what have you. That's the kind of stuff that we do it just because we like to do it. But if you incentivize people to do stuff like that and to be helpful, like you'll get, on average, you'll get people to do that a lot more. And it can really help the game because, there's frustration all around. Like I had someone who was clearly like, I don't know what they were doing. I assume watching Netflix, but they were literally just light attacking periodically, sometimes whenever they were there. Half the time they were like behind the group and were AFK. You get a bad rating for that, and if that affects like how your queue priority, that would be cool. I mean, they can't get the dungeon queue to work, period, but that would, if they could fix it, then having something like that would be really cool. The other thing is like people are going to get like I'm going to get reported for fake tanking when I could stay alive and have a taunt. I'm not really a fake tank at that point, am I? So I don't know. I don't know how you solve that, but it is a problem. The other thing is like, what about fake DPS? What if somebody comes in and they're doing like 2k damage? They're doing less damage than the tank. That's happened. When I go in on any kind of pseudo hybrid build, even if I'm mostly, I've outparsed people on a full tank. No hybrid. I put a couple of skills on and I'm literally spamming wall and whatever else I can, and I've outparsed people. I mean, what do you do with that, right? Like maybe they're doing the best they can. Probably they're not. Maybe they don't care. They're just used to getting carried through group content. So there's some issues with that. So I don't know how you solve it. I just need to point out that I think the problem is maybe a little bit harder than we might first imagine. All right, let me go back. Fake everything is still funny to me. I like it wrong way. They do need to do it better with rewards for randoms, for separate random normal versus random vet. Nani says, yeah, I absolutely agree. That would solve a lot of the problems because, if people are showing up fake tanking a random vet DLC, you're going to get kicked because you're not going to be able to stay alive. So that's like totally fine, yeah. So I think you got to give someone a chance to stay alive and to do their job and talk to them. But yeah, if they're not doing it or whatever, or they're clearly not casting any heals and they're a healer, right? Like, yeah, you got to go. It's been wrong way since it's been a complaint since I started playing in 2017. Yeah, and then Robert says, I wonder if they could do perfected versions of regular sets for veteran dungeons. Yeah, Robert, did you suggest that the other day? Somebody did. I thought that was an interesting idea. Perfected doesn't really do a whole lot, but it could be fun. So sure, I'm down. Don Cake says just some uh, minimum guardrails. Like if you don't taunt an enemy queued as a tank, you get banned from queuing account wide, as an example. Don, I think your punishment is harsh. I'm not saying it's not warranted. Probably wouldn't be something they would do, but yeah, I feel your pain. It is very frustrating, man. So I'm there with you. Mel Mel says she's adding Robert and says I would be so annoyed if I had to if I had to refarm the dungeon sticker book for perfected now. That's fair. That I would also be upset with that. Boss said IMO, I hate fake tanks out of principle because they tend to be asshats who cut the line and demand carries. But if you're gonna be a fake tank, you better be dealing at least 45% split between 3 DDs. All right, Voss. I mean, again, as long as you don't consider someone who holds taunt and doesn't die a fake tank, then I'm fine with that. But again, if you're holding taunt and you're not dying, you're doing your job. I was doing that on that 1 bar Arcanist build. It's basically a tank, right? Like it doesn't use a sword and board or an ice staff, but it has a spot for a taunt. It's almost at resistance capped, and it has a bunch of shields, more than enough for basically any you know random normal, though I would suggest that you be able to solo something before you fake tank it. That's also what I suggest too, is like, and it's, if I can solo something, I'll fake tank it. For example, I would solo farm back in the day when we needed Medusa. I would solo farm, what dungeon is that? It's an old world dungeon. And I could run through solo and clear. So I would queue as a fake tank for that all the time. Why? Because I can run through and solo the whole thing. So, I think it's the different groups of people and different styles of play being forced into the same content together, and they don't want to be there. A lot of sweaty in-game players will not real heal or real tank any random normal because it just feels like a waste of time to them. And if they ran through with 4 of us, we just delete everything so quickly it wouldn't matter. And so again, it's just these groups being forced to play together, I think. Um, Wrong Way says most low level tunes usually only DPS. Don Cake says I love the rating system. Maybe you get graded at the end of the dungeon based on how you queue. High scores get queue preference. Yeah, exactly, Don. Don Cakes. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, man. And then Odeon says guys, I'm never gonna catch up with chat, but I'm gonna keep trying. Odeon says there are times I would have to taunt a boss twice because the first one didn't register. That typically happens when there was a lot of going on, which meant that that it mostly happens in trials. Yeah. Daedric says just pick 2 random rolls, play as one and queue as the other. Minimum maximum chaos. Oh man, Daedric's got memes, but they're funny. I like it, Daedric. Yeah, just take out rolls and we all just queue. Just 4 random people dropped into a dungeon. Another note on this, guys. I was queuing random last night. This is insane to me. This was a new one on me. I queued as the tank on my, on a build that could solo everything because I'd been doing it several times. Had a taunt, had high resistances, didn't die, right? My wife queued as the healer on her, like, kind of a hybrid build because she knows how it is, because like you got to be able to do some DPS because in some groups the DPS is just incredibly low. One of the DPS had a sword and board and wouldn't stop taunting things. And I would be like, stop taunting. I had to tell him to stop taunting. And then the other healer had a resto staff, but was just heavy attacking with it. It was maybe a PvP build. Wild. Maybe they were both PvP builds, but it was really funny that both the DDs, one of them was a tank and the other one was like, and it was like, don't heal, do DPS. We combined were doing 80% of the damage, I think, on that. Yeah, I think that's what I looked at. It was wild to me. Nani says, I feel like a rating system is inviting toxicity. How so, Nani? The rating system would be like, you probably don't even know. You could get notified, but basically you're getting rewarded for being kind and helpful to people. And again, it's not taking one thing at a time. It's being taken in aggregate. Boss says 2 stars, keep standing and stupid. all of my ratings. Oh my gosh. Robert says, Voss Boss Healer main? Dog Cakes, could be Nani, could be AI rating not from the other players, or maybe you have 20 ratings for a role. I think you can have people assign ratings. Did you have a good experience? Did the person do good DPS? If you don't do good DPS, you're probably going to get downvoted though. So that's also, if you come on a DPS, that's your job. Just like if you come on a tank, that's your job, right? To hold taunt and not die. So I don't know. There's probably something that could be done. I honestly think though separating the rewards would solve like a decent amount of the problems. And then there are some people that are they're problem people that are just, you're playing online with a bunch of people, you're gonna have them. They pop up in trials all the time, right? The person who knows that everybody is required to be in comms but won't get in comms. Terrell said, "I'd say bare minimum to fake tanks is to have a taunt." Okay, all right. Yeah, that's fair. I'm tired of bosses chasing me around. I'm a DD or healer. Yeah, that's fair. I'm trying to move past the fake tanking and fake healing things, fake DPSing stuff, but go in wearing IA build, fake DPS. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Uh, oh no, I meant all the ratings on me. I die constantly because I think I can lay trap down before the obviously choreographed one shot annihilates me. Yeah, I mean, we all make mistakes, man. Uh, or make all enemies auto aggro on tanks without taunt. Oh my gosh, Terrell, that's funny. They would never be able to pull that off, but it is a funny idea. Um, Don Cake says, "Okay, I'll get off the tank. You talk. Thanks to the dog." No, man. I mean, yeah, it's good to talk about it. We just have so much other stuff to talk about. I know it's a problem. It's a problem for a lot of people, man. So totally understand. I'm not discounting it. Vossball says, "I'm completely fine with DPS with a taunt." Just to be clear, yeah. I mean, again, it depends on what your experience it is. Mel, thank you. Arc Scarinium for Medusa. Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys. Oh my god, that's how far back I am in chat. Oh my god, we're gonna get caught up here eventually. All of this conversation highlights that I am now choosy about who I am playing with. For example, in my other trial guild, it is super easy to get a random normal or even several going. Yeah, that's fair. Just get some people together from guild. Robert says rating system would force them to build CMX into the game. Mel says, chatty chat problems. Yeah, it's not really, it's a high quality problem, I guess. That's what we call it. We all get fired up when talking about pain points and bugs. Absolutely. They may be trying to level those weapons, but that shouldn't happen in group content. Yeah, people trying to level stuff up. That's fine. Brandon says perfected items that you can attach to your gear sets to give them a fifth perk would be epic. Brandon, that's a really cool idea, man. I like that idea. We're spitballing we're spitballing copium things, though I will say, because what they could do and what they will do is probably. But I like the talk. It's actually quite fun. So, All My says Final Fantasy 14 does a rating system. Oh, cool. Okay, All. Appreciate it, man. That's good to know. Daedric says for DPS it legitimately should be in normals. Having them downvoted because the more experienced people want to speed run is pretty rough. I think incentivizing running vet for dailies is way better. I absolutely agree, Daedric. Yeah, I was kind of saying that a little bit to point out that like what would happen with people getting downvoted and stuff like that. So there's no easy solution here. Although I do feel like there are some pretty basic ones. I feel like giving better rewards for vet random dailies is a pretty easy thing to do and would solve a lot of problems. Won't solve all the problems, won't make everything better, but it's easy to do and it would solve a bunch of problems. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. I know there would be people that aren't ready for random vet dungeons that would queue for it, and probably they would get kicked. So maybe they're trying to avoid that toxicity, but you got to give people feedback that they shouldn't be in the content that is too hard for them. And I don't know how you do that, but the game should do it so that people didn't have to. Other players shouldn't have to communicate that to other players like we currently do now, which is a problem for any trials guild. I know I run one, with people the game not giving them good feedback, or having a ramping difficulty either. There's like it's like normal and then veteran. It's like a cliff. It's like a 200-foot cliff. Going from one to the other. Desi Lou, hey Desi. What about the folks who refuse to slow down enough for newer players to do the quest? That's one of my pet peeves. Yeah, and again, that's like what we're talking about. And I know I'm not telling Desi this. I'm telling you guys this. I'm telling everybody this. We're all on the same page. Desi is talking about when you queue a random normal and I'm just trying to get my transmutes, I'm sprinting through. And sometimes I'm like, oh, are you doing the quest? And I'll stop and wait for people. But, it's misaligned incentives. I'm doing my random normal because it's the quickest and most efficient way to get transmutes. I don't care about your quest, right? That's the person's perspective. And then the new person has the whole experience of running this new dungeon kind of ruined for them. And we don't want that. And that's why I think separating those things so that like it's incentivizing people to run harder content appropriate for them would be a better way of doing it. Thalen says enemies already aggro on the healers without equipping taunt. There you go, guys. You don't need a fake tank, just fake heal. Thalen, that's a great point and it kind of hilarious. Wrong way. Remember the days of ice staff taunt passive? Them were the days, dude. I used to tank back in those days, and I've gotten kicked out of groups for fake tanking when I was on a real tank many times. Now people are used to ice staffs, but it still happens. Brandon says a lot of times what I'll do too is I'll go on my tank and I'll use healer gear, or I'm sorry, DPS gear and DPS skills, but everything else is tank, and so I'm like more than tanky enough. Brandon says a random drop from a vet trial arena to add your normal gear. That way you still have to farm vet content. Yeah. What's up, Chicken? How you doing, man? All right. Appreciate it, man. Chicken popped in just to tell us that he's watching Netflix. That's okay, man. I'm not hurt. No, I appreciate the support, man. Vossboss says, gonna be real. A lot of 5 pieces in this game should be honestly be 3 pieces. You want to talk about pain points. Let's talk about some of those now. When you're talking about 5-piece sets, I mean, so many of them in the game are just completely useless or worse versions of other sets. They should stop putting sets in the game. Honestly, it makes it so. My problem with this, it doesn't bother me, right? But it bothers me because I try to help new players and I try to help people be better at the game. And it's confusing when there's so many sets in the game that are just complete garbage. Or sets that are so confusing, they sound good, but they're not clear, right? So sets like, because I've fallen for all these same traps too, right? So that's how I know. So sets like War Maiden. War Maiden drops from Vardenfell, and it gives you extra spell damage, quite a bit. I think up to like almost 600, but only for magic abilities that do magic damage. Now, you read that as a new player, and first off, you might think anything that costs magicka should be a magicka ability, right? No, it's only ones that the actual damage type says magic. Magic is a damage type in ESO, which is super confusing. There's like ice, there's lightning, but there's also magic. What is magic, right? It doesn't really make sense. So it's a little bit confusing. And then it doesn't scale with everything else. Other things don't buff it. And so it doesn't really give you the buff like a lot of other sets do. So it's never really as good. And that's one that like, if you were using that and mostly using magic abilities, it works okay. You can use it on certain builds and it works well. You can use it on trash builds, sure. But it doesn't, many other ones are much more of a trap. And it also leads to, other content creators have said like, oh, how do you know what's good? There's too many sets. You can't possibly know. And that's not true either. So it's kind of upsetting and kind of frustrating. And it's needlessly complicated. It adds no value and it makes the game incredibly complicated for new players, which is who I'm concerned about mostly. And I wish Zoss was more concerned about, honestly, but it doesn't seem like they are or they really care. Wrong Way says yes, way better rewards. I think it's in regards to those vet random normals. Weremoogle Gaming, the game Final Fantasy XIV does it. You can give a commendation to someone not part of your personal party, and they just get a notification at the end saying if they got comms or not. Yeah, exactly. They do this kind of thing, guys, in a lot of other games, just as an FYI, and you'll get like a notification if someone says something good about you. And, we've mentioned there could be problems with it, but by and large, it does solve this problem, to be totally honest with you. Don Cake says, have you seen Skinny Cheeks vid on suggested set reworks? He had some really positive ideas, I thought. Don, I have seen it, man. You know what? That actually might be a cool one to watch on stream sometime and kind of talk about, because, yeah, Skinny Cheeks is great. He has some great ideas, and I can't believe they won't listen to him, to be totally honest with you. Robert Miller says they definitely need to consolidate sets. Some look like they do the same thing, and in use they can do so much worse. Just great skins to be gained instead of sets. Yeah. Something else. Lyriel says, "Oh my God, the million sets aren't useful. Drives me crazy." The million sets that aren't useful. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's talk about it. So top bugs. If you press a button, the thing needs to happen. I don't know how to combine this down to anything else, right? Whether it's block, whether it's a synergy, whether it's drinking a potion, whether it's dodge rolling, like it's a problem, and it could be. There's probably someone more knowledgeable in chat that could answer this for us, but it could be that a lot of these things come down to the same issue. It could be something with the server interacting and talking with the client and something just not working right. But it is odd that you get some cues for an ability going off, but it doesn't actually register. Some of that could be a bit of a desync in the timing delay, but it honestly feels like there's something more going on. I would also say in the past month or two, I have noticed the game's responsiveness get considerably worse. And I know, and this could be tinfoil hat, some of my friends that know tell me, but it feels like they're doing things to make the game seem like it has less lag than it does. And what you do, so you can make a client, you can make a player think that something is going on that is not going on. And then you just correct it. And usually with the thing they think is going on isn't going on and you correct it, it means that they think they're doing some cool abilities, but in reality their character's dead. And they find out that their character's dead shortly afterwards. And that's what it feels like is going on. And there are some things like this that, it's part of having online multiplayer games that are necessary and ways of dealing with this stuff. But there's also like crossing a line, and it feels a little bit currently in the game, there's been some stuff that has felt really suspicious. And the thing is that a lot of developers think that players won't notice. And what happens is that players do notice. A new player just doesn't know why. And it gets frustrating and they just quit. Some players, they don't notice and it's fine. Other players that are more experienced do notice and then get really frustrated and they kind of give up on the game because it doesn't seem like a fair game. And so I think that's one of the problems. Zion says, I've had my tune make a motion of for endless fury, rather. I'm sorry, and it didn't hit them. Get the instant cast of frags. Very confusing. Okay. Yeah, so skill's not working. And then Thalen says they can't take it as a bug, need a specific symptom, but it could be said that, quote, when I attempt to take an action, either that action should occur or it should be clear why it is not occurring. Okay, Thalen here has given us an excellent way of maybe giving them feedback for something like that. I like it. So yeah, pressing a button, something happened. Maybe not a bug, but something that is overall an issue. Obviously, a lot of people said stuck in combat bugs. What other bugs? The issue for me and what happens with a lot of this stuff is that as bugs accumulate in a game, at first bugs don't bother you. Right? The first however many hours you play a game, and it varies, they won't bother you. And then you notice them, and then they start bothering you a little bit. And you realize, oh, the reason I died was not because I did something wrong, because I'm new, so I'm always dying, and I don't know why. Now I'm realizing I've gotten past that point, and I realize the reason I died is because something's not working. Well, now it's kind of frustrating, right? But it's not that bad. If it only happens periodically, it's not a really big deal. What happens, though, is the more I play a game, that same bug grows in how frustrating it is for me. And this is for everybody. This is how our psychology of this works. I've paid attention, trust me. And so the more you play a game, the more frustrating the bugs get. Now, other external factors can influence how upset you get. Is the game overall really fun? Okay, well, that can buy you a lot of slack. The other thing is with that, it can buy you a lot of slack is what about, is this game breaking? How severe is it? And etc. So what happens though, is you play a game more, well, you get more frustrated. With MMOs, they're designed for you to play a lot, play a whole lot. I've got 20,000 hours in ESO, right? I've got an insane amount of hours. Some of those were probably not entirely playing, but that's okay. Here nor there. So you get more and more frustrated. Well, ZeniMax Online Studio and Bethesda as a whole has gotten away with so many bugs for so long. Why? Because their games were fun. No other game was really doing that thing. And, and also they weren't live service games. People didn't have, as many hours. They could deal with them, whatever. Part of the frustration with them asking about this in general, saying, hey, tell us about your pain points, is that, and like, oh, we're listening now. So long, players have felt like we weren't listened to. And we're very frustrated. And we're yelling into the void about how frustrated we are with these various bugs and about how they're an issue. Well, if my wife asks me to take out the trash and I tell her I'll do it, or if I just tell her I'll do it, and it takes me 2 days to take out the trash, that's not really what she was asking for, is it? The stinky, smelly trash that she wants me to take out. If it's sitting in the house for 2 days, like, that's not really doing the thing that she asked. Even though eventually I technically did it, it's not really doing the thing. There have been bugs and issues in the game for literal years that they have not fixed. PvP bug, being stuck in combat, the block bug, plenty of other things, and they've been there for literal years. Them now telling us, like, hey, we're going to fix it, you just got to realize that it's great that they're making steps in the right direction, but there's going to be a lot of frustration, and it's rightfully so. And then the other thing is that they have bragged before about having such a long lead time. Oh, we know what we're going to do in, a year or 2 years, because that's how far our lead time is out. Well, it's the same deal. Why aren't you fixing these issues that need to be fixed now? And what we've seen also, for those of you who don't know, is that there have been bugs that are kind of fun. The DK, there was a short period of time, very short, where a DK, if you cast your standard just gives you a percentage increase to your damage. Well, that buff wasn't going away. And not only was it not going away, if you cast it multiple times, they would stack. So you could get a DK that would stack this whenever you're in an instance. If you left the instance, I believe it reset. So you could get DKs that were like one-shotting things, like trial bosses, like dying in seconds. And it was hilarious and funny, and I never got to abuse it, but I would have loved to have. That is a kind of bug that is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. ZOS fixed that in like 24 hours. The block bug, there's been multiple, but they're always in the game for months. And then the last one has been in the game basically for years. They're just never going to fix it, I guess. I don't know. But that's the kind of thing that really builds up a lot of animosity and why you get people that are very frustrated with a lot of this stuff. Daedric says game client predicting what's happening is pretty standard for any real-time strategy game. Otherwise, you'd have to lockstep systems where nothing happens till server says it does. Makes it feel choppy. Thanks, Daedric. Yeah, and honestly, that's like a whole. We could dive into that. Daedric says PoE 1 has a Path of Exile 1 has a lockstep mode where you can see how it feels. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Babe says the bug where Olms was glitched, or the Cauldron final boss glitch just stood there. Those get fixed really quick, and then ban people that found them and for abusing it, and then they have no rewards for their mistakes. That hurts. Yeah, exactly. They ban people that even people that weren't abusing it, who just like found out about it, they've banned people for that because they're so ban happy with this stuff. And it's like, well, people aren't going to report bugs if you ban them for it. So I personally think if there's a bug in a game, that's the developer's fault. And if people abuse it, that's the developer's fault. Do I think that some of them, like duplicating items, should be abused? No. Do I think that killing a boss really easily should be abused? I mean, who cares? It's fun. Let them have it. I don't know. There are other games too that when they have bugs like that, like what we're talking about here, they're like, yeah, guys, enjoy it while it lasts. It's funny. It's memey. Cool. We'll fix it soon. And that's how I think they should address it. And the fact that they fix the fun bugs so quickly, and then don't fix the ones that are game breaking and frustrating, it's just so disrespectful to players. It basically means that they don't care about you. They don't care about your enjoyment. They don't care about how fun it is. They only care about money. And that is the thing that is really upsetting, I think, for most players. Almai says, I just did a lot of research on Windows 11 services. I could disable, seems to have helped. Anecdotal, but it does feel better overall. Okay, so maybe there's some Windows 11 things. Hey, it's all the same company now, so we can still blame them all. Terrell, wait, they banned people who found bugs. Yeah, it's happened before. They reverse it eventually. they have, but like it's also this like weird area of like, did you find it? Did you exploit it? You know, and they're just being happy with it, man. So there's been some frustration with that. I honestly, again, I just don't think it should matter. If you know, if you want to go through and do hard mode Teleria when there was a bug that let DKs do infinite damage, cool. Who cares? Have fun. I don't know. What does it matter? Who's it hurting? Nobody. You know, they're worried about the game integrity. I think is probably the argument they would make, but it just feels like they don't care about their customers. ESO lag has always been a complaint for me. I did what I could outside of the game. Yeah. Well, let's look. Let's see what else people have to say. So, getting kicked out of PvP and then error messages that prevent me from logging until I have to requeue, sometimes resulting in an hour wait. Yep, getting kicked out. I mean, there was months where one person would DC. Nani, you had this a ton, where one person would get DC and it would take 5 to 10 minutes for them to be able to get back in the game. And they left it in. It was months and months. Hey, Snaffy, what's going on? Then they shouldn't. Oh, I'm sorry. Then they should do a better bug testing before releasing something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Thalen also says also fixing things like Necro can accumulate ult outside of combat. Yeah, Thalen's referring to fixing a problem that doesn't actually exist. Oh, Necros can get ulti out of combat. Let's fix that bug. It doesn't matter. They're fixing things that are making the game less fun for no apparent reason. And I think this is part. And guys, if you're new, you need to and this is frustrating. I'm going to talk about all this stuff. You don't have to watch this. It might feel negative, okay? But for those of us who have been around for a while, we have seen ZOS not understand. They don't understand how their own game works. And we know this because there have been bugs in the game that lasted a very long time, months, if not longer, months, if not years, that you could get 100% damage mitigation. So you literally wouldn't take any damage. Have you ever, in times past, been running around PvP areas and you couldn't kill that person at low health? It's because ZOS didn't understand how their own calculations for damage mitigation worked. And that's just one example. So there are plenty of examples where no one seems to know what's going on over there. And so it leads you to draw some negative conclusions about a lot of things. And the thing is that, you know, it paints everything that you do whenever you have these problems. But fixing bugs that aren't bugs, you know, or that aren't really an issue, but made the game more fun, just makes you look so bad. It just makes everything look so bad. And you're just like, what is going on? And it's very frustrating for players, and they don't even understand that. I keep saying this, and I'll keep saying it. You have to have at least one person, hopefully more than one person at a company who understands the game from a player's perspective and understands it thoroughly, because that's absolutely necessary to make a good quality game. Another thing I'll note about some of these bugs just in general, guys, and them taking stock of them, I think it's great. I think it's a step in the right direction. The issue with bugs in games is that if a bug is in a game and it is not financially viable, or there's not a financial reason to fix the bug, it's not making people quit the game. The only reason they're fixing bugs now is because it has made people quit the game. Now, the problem is people have been complaining about this stuff for years, so many of them have already quit the game. They're probably not coming back. I can tell you, and I already have, that ESO is the last game from ZeniMax Online Studios, and probably the last game from Bethesda that I'm going to play unless they just put out a banger. But like, I'm not even interested in trying out their other games until I hear that it's a banger, that it's awesome, because I already know what kind of company they are, and I know what they do, and so I just have no interest. I'm sunk cost fallacy on ESO. I've already playing. I'm still enjoying it, whatever. But like, you know, there's just so many problems. I just don't plan on playing Elder Scrolls 6, and I've played every single Elder Scrolls game starting with the first one. Okay, so that's kind of the issue with some of this stuff is, like, you know, people complain and it's not being fixed. It's not financially incentivized. Like, there's no financial incentive for them to fix most of the bugs, so they're just not going to. And sure, developing, you know, games is hard, but any business is hard, right? What you see with independent studios that aren't corporately owned is that they fix bugs in their game and they make the game fun because they are incentivized to. So, and so I don't know. I've said this before. I'll keep saying it, but independent games are the future of gaming. Period. Independent games are what is going to make gaming continue to move forward and make better and greater games. The AAA studios, the large companies, or whatever, are going to keep trying to squeeze every bit last bit they can out of the lemon, and maybe some of them will do it better than others. Maybe some of them will be allowed the financial freedom to make good games, but by and large, it's going to be independent studios moving forward that make great games, and it's probably always going to be that way because they want to make a great game because they want to make a great game, not because they think they can make $20 million instead of $18 million next year. Um, Sorry, got a little bit on my soapbox there. Nani says it is still happening with people DCing and not being able to log in. Yeah, okay, so it's still happening with people DCing and not being able to log in. Yeah, for a while there, though, you could guarantee every trial someone would get DC'd and not be able to log in for 5 or 10 minutes, and it was bad. It was for months and months. Daedric says the DC bug is still there, just less common now. We love Zoss. Okay. Zion says executes need a buff, 500% more everything. Voss, rip Sawman, never forget what we lost. Yeah, I mean, most of Sawman's complaints that I ever saw were pretty based. I don't know. I didn't watch all of his content, but I thought he had a lot of pretty good takes on stuff for the most part. Well, cool. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of got all my soapbox. Let's take a look at some of these suggestions from people and see if we can spur some ideas. So stuck in combat, heavy attacks not doing anything. I haven't actually experienced this. Has anybody else heard of this? Heavy attacks not doing anything. Skills don't always fire off, especially defensive things like break free. Companion taunt doesn't always work. Companions are kind of useless in most situations because they die, and they've never fixed this. Companions, if you go to any world boss, you guys have been to world bosses recently, there's just a sea of dead companions. They don't really do that much, and I mean, you don't want them to be overpowered. I get the problem. But yeah, I don't know if they work at all, really. Aren't they just kind of like an RP thing for most people? I don't know. You guys tell me. PlayStation 5 zoom map is broken. You cannot zoom in properly on PlayStation 4. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Pain points. You cannot filter for unknown in guild traders. Okay. Story mode dungeons and updated group dungeon quests so that players can't force someone to miss their skill point. I don't know what that means. I'm not familiar with this one either. Anybody know what's going on here? Companions are just cannon fodder for a few seconds. Yeah, exactly. Zion says yes. Final Hit says dodge. Mostly PvP issue for myself, Resto, and lightning staffs. Zion, I think people often try to dodge the last tick of a heavy attack, though. I know I do, because that's how you kind of basically invalidate or make heavy attack builds not very good in PvP. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Or maybe this is a different issue. I don't know. And then All My says, best part about Ember, she stands in the worst AoE possible and doesn't move. IA is a prime example. Yeah, there you go. I think they should just make them immune or basically take very little damage from AoEs because they don't know how to make them stand in a better place. That's what I think. But I don't know. Grandmaster Furnishing Station, that is a collectible furnishing, and all furnishing stations have a search function. There's like 1,000 plans or whatever. Having to go through each one with poor categorization is a nightmare. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff like this. I don't know about all the stuff specifically because I don't do a lot of housing. I'm probably right. Thanks for the info. Yeah, and Yeah, no problem. Glad to help. Clearly they should. There's some confusion there that they should try to solve too. So, poor categorization. So when we're talking about Dungeon Finder, the other thing is like they implemented the trial feature, like where you could search and find people, or really Group Finder for anything using that feature sucks, and it's never been correct. So it's kind of funny that they're asking us about bugs when they've recently implemented features that never worked correctly. Trials like veteran trials versus normal trials, like all the drop downs really don't mean anything and they don't work, and stuff will show up whenever you search for veteran. Normal stuff will show up and vice versa. And it's just like the most basic way of implementing something. that it's just like, really, guys? It's kind of like when they implemented mounts, guys, and Thalen or somebody correct me if I'm wrong, Daedric, but when they implemented mounts, they were like, oh, now you can randomize your mount. Look at this great feature we added. It's a cool feature. I'm glad they implemented it. All they did was change a static variable to look at a table that you could click through and make this table on your own character and randomize and pick one of those mounts. It's not that hard. I could code that. Okay. It really isn't that hard. And they're like, look what we've done. And you're like, dude, you did the bare minimum. And the only reason you did that was so you can sell more mounts. And it's like, guys, can you just show us that? Like, they think that we don't notice, I think. They think that we're stupid, is what it feels like. Because that's obviously, like, yeah, it's a good feature. Don't act like you just, figured out flight. Okay. This is a pretty basic feature. And when they implemented the dungeon or the trial, group finder, it just like, why is this? It's such a basic feat. What they did is they copied most of the of the um, guild finder and basically like changed a few features. That's basically what they did. Making a trial group is kind of like making a guild post. It seems like they just copied most of the features in a bad way, and most of them don't even make any sense and don't work right. Kaidero coding stream soon. Hey, I've actually have done some coding videos on C++. So yeah, we could do that, Daedric. They already exist, my friend. They already exist. Um, Snafu says, I think what number 2 means is how some speedrunners will skip dungeon areas or go too far ahead for a player to complete the quest and get the skill point. Snafu, thank you. I didn't understand that. That is a really good point, man. Yeah. And that's the whole like new people versus experienced people thing. Thanks for clarifying that for us. Appreciate it. Let me see if I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Are you sharp to clear hard mode Chimera and VSE? I don't know. I don't know what you mean, Nani. I'm so there's more chats coming in, guys. Okay, I'll just keep going. Makes companions like you guys just repeat it if I missed it. Okay, make companions like the pets where they're immune to like 80% of the damage in the game. Yeah, that would make sense. Exactly. I mean, that's all they need to do, right? They did finally figure it out for pets in the Endless Archive, so why not do that for companions? And then that was from Voss Boss. War Moogle Gaming says, as a new player, I have had a few times where I am in dialogue to start dungeon quest and group will move forward so fast it tries to jump quest points and leads to making that run incomplete quest wise. Yeah, Weremoogle, just to be clear to everybody else, I'm pretty sure on half my characters, I think my main, who I've been playing for years and years and years, I don't even know if I've completed like a couple of the old world dungeons because of this exact thing. So yeah, I feel you. Like I don't have a skill point for those dungeons. It's kind of crazy. We were short one person because of the get kicked out of trial bug and used sharp for the chain lightning mech. Oh, okay. Yeah, so the getting kicked out of getting kicked out of trials is still an issue. I have like 5 incomplete dungeon quests on my necro journal because of it. Yeah, okay. Oh my God, you saved the game with the mount fixed. Yeah, exactly. They act like they did something crazy. LMAO, random mounts, who cares? Fix my block and roll. Terrell, exactly. And this is how people feel. And they don't understand this. And if they do, they're not doing anything about it. It's kind of like, oh, we'll fix it. We're listening. They tell PvPers every year that they're listening and, oh, we're going to fix PvP. Maybe now they're finally doing something about it, but it's part of their, oh, we have plans for 3 years out. And you're like, dude, you're just basically telling me that you're slow to do anything. I know it's a problem. I know it's hard, but running a business that makes millions and millions of dollars is hard. You can do it, guys. You're not a poor indie game company. Like you can do it. Figure it out. Tadric says, let me go find them and mine some means from them. Oh my gosh. Daedric, I would prefer not because those might leak back to me personally, but I will send them to you, man, because I know you'll keep it on the DL. You mean Group Finder that doesn't require you to actually get a tank or a healer, all the TPS? Oh man, chicken. Yeah, I mean, something. Clearly the Group Finder is an issue and something needs to be done. I think that the Group Finder honestly is like its own discussion. But right now, I would settle for if I knew it worked because I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't work. I know it doesn't put people in queue, and I would just settle for it actually working the way it should. I would settle for that for the dungeon finder, and I would also settle for the trial finder working in some sort of. Clearly, they don't ever use the trial finder because if you used it, the first time I used it, I was like, "This is garbage. Why are these settings the way they are? Why can I see?" Like if they used it twice, they would know that it's not working correctly. So again, it's kind of like we're asking for feedback about bugs, but we're adding features to the game that suck and that aren't complete, that don't work right, that are bugged. And so it just makes me feel like, why am I wasting my time telling you about the bugs when like you're so unprofessional and you're doing such a poor job that you're introducing new things into the game that are bugged. I just don't understand it. And I will say this really is an ESO thing, and there are situations where this would be okay. Let me give you a for instance. Path of Exile. Totally different game. Doesn't matter if you know anything about it. Doesn't matter. Path of Exile has unlimited customization. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay. Now, what that means is that the game is like, it's incredibly hard to balance. And so what happens is like players find broken things and it's like this whack-a-mole. Well, they go, hey guys, yeah, you're going to find broken things. And if it's broken, we're going to let you play with it until a new like season, usually like 3 months. And then we'll fix it and you'll have to come up with something else and find something else broken. It's a huge problem because you have so much customization that you can break the game very easily. And they figured out a solution that works for everybody. That works. That's okay. And that's just an example. That's like a balancing issue more than a bug issue. But but bugs do exist and there is problems with it, like how these two things interact isn't the way they should, or the way it says. And there are bugs, and that's okay. That's a way that is fine for the players. Having a game with a bunch of bugs and then introducing new features that are still buggy, it just at some point you're like, guys, what are you doing over there? Like who's at the helm? Who's leading things? And they're like, oh, we got to keep to the schedule. Whose schedule? Who said you had to keep to the schedule? You did? You're forcing yourself to keep your own schedule by putting out a bad product. It's crazy. And I have this with my own videos, right? I have to come up with a video schedule. I'm a one-man band. And, if I could say, oh, guys, I know my content schedule for the next 8 months. I don't, because I'm trying to put out content as quickly as I can. All right, what else we got here? We're getting the comments rolling in now. Snafu says the amount of money people pump into the game via crowns should cover any and all bug fixes or staff to fix those bugs. Just my opinion. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. If you can't run a viable business, then you don't have a viable business, right? So if they're making money, they should be able to fix these bugs. But yeah, that's just not the math that they're doing. Brock says, what's up, man? Let's go. How you doing, man? I'm doing great, dude. Doing great. Having fun. Brandon says if they perfected the group finder, they would greatly increase the quality of life. Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. I totally agree. I think it's a huge problem. Snafu says it was about 2 years ago when ZOS let the community weigh in on a bunch of updates, fixes, and ask everyone's opinions on what should be done going forward. There were loads of valid talking points, and ZOS basically told everyone to go fuck themselves. Snafu was polite and blotted out the go fuck themselves, but I'm going to say it because that's what it felt like, and completely disregarded everyone's input. Absolutely. That's exactly what happened, and it's happened many times before, and so a lot of us don't really have a whole lot of confidence. All right, Naughty, take it easy. Naughty's probably got the grands coming in. Barack says at this point, we just want the game to work. We don't even care about balance anymore. Yeah, I think that's another thing is like, yeah, we care less about balance and just want the game to work. That would be awesome. Let's see what other main points. We'll kind of peruse through these and we'll pick out. So housing, guys, I'm not going to say a whole lot about housing because I don't really do housing. And so I don't really have a whole lot intelligent to say. But, there was some issues about stuff like there is an issue where they've added stuff to the game and then it's like, oh, well, your sort feature, when there's 200 things, housing is in game, when there's 200 things in a sort feature, it's not really sorting things very well, is it, right? So there are problems with that. They keep reducing the amount of content that they deliver and told us that they would be doing bug fixes and improvements, but they have not really delivered. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, this is just like one of many things that erodes trust in a company. And I think what they're going to find out is once they've lost it, it's going to be nearly impossible to get it back. But by that point, many of the people that have been there will be retiring or moving on, so it won't really matter for them. Motif UI. And okay, similar to the list is too large, the icon's too small, and no easy way to sort them or theme them by race or something. This is a great point. This is a great pain point. It's not a bug, it's a pain point. But that's actually this is really good. I was having this problem the other day. I was trying to look for something with eyes on it for my Arcanist, and I couldn't find. I know I have stuff, but I couldn't find it. Everything's too small, and I couldn't remember the names. And yeah, even by race or theme, or there should be a lot of other ways. Also, I will note that doing stuff like this is, again, incredibly simple. Okay, this is not a coding masterpiece here to be able to sort a list by various categories. Yeah, you might have to go in and like that item doesn't have the various traits. It doesn't have like associated with it race. And that could honestly be a coding nightmare, having to change those particular items. But I think that also comes from like not having ever thought anything through very well. So, it is what it is, I guess. If they want to sell more stuff, though, they got to make things easy to use. Guild tabards are basically useless, so yeah, I could see this. Guild tabard, if it doesn't match your outfit, you're never going to wear it. Why are you going to, like, it just doesn't make sense. There should be something with guild tabards that, for anybody who knows about them, I mean, it's a small problem, but absolutely that's going to be correct. Cosmetics, sorry, I shouldn't scroll up too much. Snafu agrees there, Mel. Yeah, 100%. Zion says PTS sets and changes to skills, what were bad ideas, community said as much and went live anyways. Exactly. So what Zion is saying is that stuff goes up on PTS. I don't comment usually on PTS, guys, because they don't listen to our feedback anyways. So there's no point in wasting my time. I usually wait until stuff goes live and then just see what happens, because they don't listen to us and they haven't listened to us for years. And so it's like, what are they going to start now? I doubt it. Snafu says, I'm scared that if they change a simple line of code to fix something, they'll break 1,000 others. Snafu, I think that's a valid fear, and I think it's absolutely something that has happened many, many times before. I think we all kind of know that ESO is spaghetti code. I don't know. I assume that the coders were having to rush to do things, and so they didn't do them in the most well thought out way possible. And so now they're having to deal with the consequences of that action. Again, there could be very valid reasons for all this. Some of the stuff that I said is easy fixes. Like I said, with the items, right? Like items being searchable, you're going to have to add. Right now, those items, as an object, probably don't have codings for like, oh, this is an Argonian thing, but it's also a trial thing, and it's also whatever. And so that's like having to go rewrite a whole bunch of code. So probably not something they would ever do. I just want to say, as a customer, I don't care. I only care about the finished product, and as customers, we shouldn't care. It's not our problem. We should only care about the finished product. So, it is what it is. Let me see. All my says spaghetti code. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of PTS, they nerfed Null Arcana today. Oh, yeah? Personally, I haven't completed a single area or storyline, and the little PvE stuff I do, I skip all the storytelling and don't listen or read anything. Yeah, Barack, I was having this problem yesterday. One of the things that they do, I had to go through and do quest lines to unlock something, and I'm only doing it so I can get the thing that I want or need for the game. And I'm just like clicking through as quickly as I can because I don't care, because that's not. But at other times, I do care about the quest and storyline. So, yeah, two different sides of things. I also think that they have expressed frustration. Rich Lambert, the creative director, the guy in charge of all the parts that make the game, has expressed that one person will say one thing and another person will say the exact opposite things, and they don't know what to do with that feedback, so they just shrug and do whatever. He's literally said that. He said that in a tweet many times. Honestly, he said basically that same thing, but he said it very clearly before. And what happens is kind of like what you're talking about. I might say quests are annoying. The quest markers aren't good enough. I want more guidance on the quests. Another person might say the quest lines, I don't like the quest markers. I want to be able to go figure stuff out for myself. I want it to be more story driven. We're saying two opposite things. Now, the reason is I'm saying I want it to be simple because I'm not reading anything. I'm clicking through as fast as I can. I'm moving to wherever I think I'm supposed to go, and anything I want it to be as simple and as basic as possible because it's basically a punishment, a time sink for me. And so I'm just running around. I want there to be quest markers. I want them giant. I want a dotted line that I can follow because I'm actually watching Netflix. I'm not actually trying to play the game. I'm trying to do the chore, the game chore that I have to do so that I can do the fun part of the game. And so I might complain that the quest markers aren't good enough or blah blah blah. Now I don't really do that because I understand, but I could say that. And then another player could be like not in that situation. They're really interested in the story and a quest mark. And I've been this person too, right? One person can be both of these, can have both of these feelings where I'm like, oh, this is annoying. I thought I'd be able to go explore this and discover it, and that would be fun. But there's a giant quest marker over it that kind of ruins my fun. That sucks. And it's funny that the guy in charge of the company has basically said when he gets feedback like this, he doesn't know what to do with it. So he throws up his hands. He literally said like slash shrug. Like, oh, yeah, nothing I can do about it. That's not what you want in the person who's in charge of of the game that you love. It's really just not. All right, my point was made there. Let me, oops, went back. Let me, we got some. Let me catch up here. Uh, oh my gosh, guys, we're gonna have to. I don't know. Sometimes during these streams, I can't keep up with chat. This is the first time we've had this problem, and I absolutely love it. Keep the comments coming. My company had a notoriously fast coder with a lot of pasta in it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not really helpful if you're super fast, if your code sucks, or is impossible for anybody else to read, or any number of other things. Um, Brock says, personally, I haven't completed a single area or storyline, and the little PvE stuff I do, I skip all the storytelling and don't listen and read any of it. Yeah. Snafu says no meatballs or meat sauce. Volsboss at Terrell. No, they didn't nerf it. They fixed it because apparently the only reason it was somewhat decent was because of a bug. That's hilarious. That's the kind of stuff that they're fixing stuff that doesn't need to be fixed. Wrong Way says, I say to truly fix this game, it's going to take a solid year or better before we actually feel the changes. Yeah. Um, Brock says, it would be nice if we could use the old sets. Uh, we spent time grinding rather than having to get new armors every DLC. That's fair. Well, at least he is honest, so that is good. I mean, yeah, 100% on the quest markers. I'm not sure which direction that is, but I think we probably agree on the nuance on that. Wrong Way. All My says we did a massive rewrite of code at my company. It took 5 years. Yeah, I think they've considered making an Elder Scrolls Online 2, and I think they decided not to do that. Um, Again, at this point, like I'm not going to buy more of their products, so I don't really care what they do. I think they've burned that bridge for me. I don't trust them, and until I see something that proves to me that they've learned, and honestly, it would take different people in leadership would be the main thing that I would be looking for. And it's not just the creative director, right? Like everybody in charge of the company, the people behind the scenes are also at fault for some of this. We real life Brock says we real lives we don't have time to read for 2 hours to see that the story is about. I mean, yeah, it depends. Sometimes that's you're in it for. I mean, I read for stories, so I don't usually quest as much, but some of them are pretty cool. Some of them aren't very good, so it's also mixed bag there. All my says I sign the bills, so I know. Uh, but we were spoiled. We want fixes done yesterday, dude. Wrong Way. It's not even about fixes done yesterday, man. These fixes have been like years coming. They just keep adding more bugs faster than they're fixing the ones they have. All My says so to my customers. Yeah, I mean absolutely. Uh, Where Mogul Gaming says add a setting to disable quest markers in journal. Yeah, that would be a great solution to that. Where Mogul, I like that idea a lot. Terrell says I thought we could disable quest markers. Oh, can we? Vospus says I think another issue is that the spaghetti code was cooked up by a team that probably isn't even at ZOS anymore. Yep. So you got to figure out what it even does before you can start making changes Absolutely boss. I get that it's a problem. As a customer, I just don't care. So, but yeah, that's. I mean, we can talk about it because it is interesting and it is important to know. I do want to have empathy and understand what they're going through. But at the end of the day, no customer should care, right? We only care about the finished product. That's like a chef, like, telling you that, oh, if I want to cook that steak right, I got to do all these steps, and you're like, yeah, dude, I don't care. I just want a properly cooked, meal. So. Snafu says to highlight the fast quest button mashing. I run by NPCs that have dialogue that makes it sound like I saved the world, and I have no idea WTF they are talking about. I only paid attention to Kate Beckinsale's storyline. Kate Beckinsale has a storyline? Yeah, yeah, that was mostly sarcasm. Okay, wrong way. I thought it might be men, but I didn't know. Uh, Brock says the game worked the best when it first came out. The huge fights we used to have with no lag. It was so much fun. Yeah, Brock. I mean, I think they're trying to head back in that direction. Let's see what other comments we got here. Stuck in combat bug. They put it in. Even I don't know. Maybe these guys all put this in. Oh my god. I think this person would like stackable treasure maps. I like that. I like what they did here. I just want to say that I really do. Skills not firing in Cyrodiil, groups unable to kick lagged out players in Cyrodiil, forced to disband and regroup. God, that sounds annoying. Players being read as online after lagging out in Cyrodiil, keeping them from logging back on. Yeah, players not showing properly online or offline is annoying. Error messages from Cyrodiil crashes preventing logging back in. No mini map. Absolutely, that's a problem. Map overall. Yep, I don't think that they understand the map problems, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. So I don't think we're going to get a fix because they don't even understand the problem. Add-on / mod pings and zero causing server-wide lag. Okay, cannot search for guilds. Yep. Gamepad UI. Not sure what that means exactly. All right, I guess I should be serious. Okay, so they did this funny thing, but yeah. Yeah, make everything stack. The game, all I know is that my owners hated I was spending money on new code, but we would have no customers left if we didn't do it. So I stuck to my guns, probably cost me a few years of life due to the stress. Well, that sucks, but yeah, it is a situation where, if you want customers, you got to fix your problems. Barack says, to be honest, they have been, they've been making a lot of mistakes from the start when the game first came out. With PS and Xbox, they allowed PC players to transfer, and then we're just shitting on PS and Xbox. Yeah, there's been a lot of problems with that. I don't really know a lot about it personally. I just know it from other people, Barack, so I can't really speak too much of it. Phantom groups. There's a bug associated with the use of the group finder. It results in some characters being put in previous dungeon finder zombie group. In the process of doing so, they may also remove them from an existing group that they're in. They'll be in this zombie group as a single player, and it'll prevent them from inviting or accepting invites. The way to fix this temporarily is to relog or rezone, though it can happen. There's also issues with people getting stuck in group a while back. I don't know if that ever got fixed. The only way to fix it long term is when there is a server maintenance that wipes away these zombie groups. They were evidently not properly cleared up when disbanded. Of course, after that character uses Dungeon Finder again, it can happen all over again. Encounters with multiple bosses, resetting when characters have transient pets. Yes, this is a big deal and it's kind of annoying. It's not a big deal, it's just annoying, actually. That's what I should say. Let me be precise here. Phantom groups are so annoying. Yeah, I still get stuck in group and get stuck in the queue for Dungeon Finder. Yeah, okay. The Dungeon Finder is just a complete mess. I don't know why they don't. It's weird to me that they don't realize that that should be one of the top things on their list because it's something that just about everybody uses. I don't know why it wasn't up there with. Again, this is the problem with them not playing their own game or knowing how it's played. Pain points. Did I mention stackable treasure maps, overturning of trial hard modes, Rock Grove, and beyond? I'm not sure what this means. Lead RNG, especially the lack of curations for sources that have multiple leads. Let me talk about a pain point, and that's with farming gear. If you farm a gear in a dungeon, let's do the math here, okay? The last boss and this is not, this is a pain point, and this is by design. Okay. So if you're farming gear for a dungeon, you can run it a couple of times and get all of the body pieces you need. But if you're looking for jewelry and weapons that only drop from the last boss, or if you get lucky from a chest, so we'll just say last boss, we have ring and necklace. We've got two-handed weapons. We've got 3 of those, right? So we've got axe, sword, and mace. We have we have single target, single weapons. We have daggers, maces, axes again with single target, single weapons rather. I'm sorry, single handed. I keep saying single target. We've got 4 staffs. I'm running out of hands here. We've got 4 staffs. What else? Like, is there anything else? Did I get everything? I think there's more. Bow. Kmas. I don't know, something around 13. I did the math the other day, and to get every piece of gear within a dungeon, I think you had to run it like 45 times. 45 times running the exact piece of content to get the stuff you need. And a shield, thank you. And I have had the item that I wanted, the Zen's Redress dagger, be the literal last item that dropped. Okay, I had to run that trial or that dungeon 45 times. I am not having fun after like 3. The fact that like those weapons only drop from the last boss is a intentional time sink that is not fun, and I don't think that anybody enjoys. And in fact, I have seen people grind out to get all the gear for in game and then quit the game because they were so frustrated and it was so bad. So I think it's a serious pain point and a serious problem. And I think they see those kind of things often as a feature. And I just don't think it should be that hard. The same thing with leads. I swore I'd never get Crypt Cannon because I'm not going to go farm up those leads because people have farmed for months and never got those leads. And it was insane. Snafu says that I didn't think ZOS is very connected to their player base, nor their game in general. They don't even play the game. Yeah, exactly. And they also like sometimes will say derogatory things about the players and treat players in a derogatory way, which makes me, it usually when you see that stuff done publicly, it usually means that behind the scenes, they're talking all kinds of mad trash. Now, I don't think everybody's doing that, but if the higher ups are, people that are public facing are, then it's a huge problem. And the only way to do that is usually to fix that is usually to fire some people to start getting things set back right. I know players that use Group Finder to get a better random group. That's funny. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, though. The newest trial hard modes are significantly harder. You go from being able to trifecta the older trials to not even completing the new trial hard modes. Yeah, the difficulty, that's actually a great pain point. For new players, going from normal to veteran, it's a cliff. And most players can't get it, and it's very hard. The other thing is that players don't know what dungeons or trials should I run, to get better at the game. And it's such a jump, again, from any normal to any vet that it is kind of like it doesn't help players improve, and it doesn't lead them to like a ramp to getting into harder content. And it creates a lot of toxicity and animosity in in-game. The other thing is that is a big problem, and I'll talk about this because it affects me personally, is that there are creators there are creators that make really bad content for the game, and ZOS will promote them. And, to use someone who, if I don't make specific points, I'm afraid the point will get through. I don't want to use specifics, but there are two issues. One is that there are creators that will make garbage content, and ZOS will pay for them to promote their content. Hack the Minotaur does this, where he's been paid to promote, to do a video on ESO, and he made a video in one particular where he told everybody about how great his other builds are. Now, maybe Hack the Minotaur has some good builds, but he has had videos on his website by someone who was faking parses and to make it seem like they did more damage they do. And then his other builds are objectively, there's many of them that are just not good. I'm not saying some of his builds aren't good, but some of them are like pretty bad and and the problem with that is they lead you to having a bad experience. And there are creators that will do this. This is what they do. This is the content farm they do. Now, and they just go to whatever game, and game companies typically don't care. They only care about how big your market is, and so they'll promote people. This was my problem with Nephis. Often I found that, that Discord, ESOU, to be incredibly toxic. And I had very bad experiences in there. This is somebody that was on their stream team and that they promoted. Gina and other community members would answer questions in that Discord while they're at the same time being completely horrible to people for no reason. And it's like, why are you promoting people that are making the game harder and less fun for new players, and also people that are causing toxicity in game? And so, them doing stuff like that, they don't care. They only care about the numbers, but they would always do that, and they still continue to do it. And other companies that I do like the makers of Path of Exile, have done the same thing, where they paid large creators to make content on their game because all they care about is the numbers, without realizing that content creator makes garbage content that will, if people follow it, will lead to them having a bad experience with their game. And that's upsetting to me. I'm a bit of a paladin where, like, they could just put a little bit more effort and make good content, and I would have no problems with it, right? And then you have someone like Skinny Cheeks, who makes great content, incredibly wholesome, and by all accounts, an incredibly nice guy who, they don't want to listen to. So it's kind of frustrating with stuff like that. Barack says, so multiple items times the number of traits. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like previously how hard it was to complete stuff, I think. And then Terrell says, ugh, getting Pillar of Nirn daggers was such a pain. Finished the whole sticker book farming it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Terrell. That's what I'm talking about. Where Moogle says, is it just me or being new, or with how much alts are encouraged in this game, wouldn't it be better if some of the passive skill lines like scrying could be account wide instead of the character specific? Where Moogle, absolutely. That's another great point. Those skill lines, and if you get them to max, you can buy them. And so they're never going to make that, because what they want you to do is like max out one of those skill lines and then buy it for all of your other characters. Myself and many other people have done that because it's not worth the time investment. And if you're paying for ESO Plus, you get crowns, and I don't usually care about the cosmetics, but it's absolutely, they don't want to do that because they want money, and they're paying for you. They're paying for convenience. It's why I consider paying for convenience paying to win. And I consider it to be that's another reason, one of the like core reasons why I wouldn't pick up ESO again a second time, because I think that they incentivize this bad behavior where they put pain points in the game and then sell you the solution. The crafting bag is another thing. I don't think you can play the game without the crafting bag and extra bank space and have an enjoyable time. At least I can't. After you could start off and play a little bit, but if you really want to play the game a lot, like, you absolutely need those things. And so it's just like to force you to buy all those things. And I just don't like it. If they said, hey, you know what, our game is a subscription service, I would have a lot more respect for it and would feel a lot more honest, honestly. Let me see here, guys. I'm a little bit far up in chat. Snafu says, I hate the fact that you have to wait for the final boss to get weapons and jewelry. It should be spread out evenly. Yeah, they should. There's a lot of things they could do, but something so that you don't have to farm a dungeon 45 times to get one set of gear when you need many sets of gear. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, War Moogle, I absolutely agree. Daedric says, Jake Clips being endorsed by Zoss is hilarious to me when he posted astrology level conspiracy videos about game mechanics that are completely known. Yeah, so Jake Clips, so what Daedric is referring to is Jake Clips has posted videos where if you rezone while you're opening crown crates, you'll get better drops. That's not at all true. It's like astrology level conspiracy videos. I don't know if that's exactly, but it's pretty close to that is what he did. And he'll be like, oh, I don't know if this is true, but then, oh, this is absolutely true. And so he's gotten popular doing videos like that, which is absolutely wild to me. And then some of his advice on some other things can be really far off. And it's like, just talk about the stuff you know. And I don't mind people that are trying to honestly help people. It's one of my things about Zynode. I think Zynode is genuinely trying to help people. It frustrates me that he'll stoke the fires of like different groups being mad at each other. I wish he wouldn't do that, but I honestly think that Zynode is trying to make good builds for people. And so if like someone's like, oh, Zynode builds suck because they're 5% less optimal, that frustrates me. could there be other things in this video? Has there been other things in the video that I don't like? Yes. But, it's the honesty versus people that are doing things that are clearly they just don't care if they're providing good information for players, and they tell them because the problem is, and this is my issue a lot of times with Hack the Minotaur, is that Hack will say things like, this is amazing, insane damage, and he'll say all this stuff, and the thing is, and they'll tell people that this build is for all content. The thing is, if they go to certain content, they'll get kicked out of the group, and people will be like, you're an idiot, why are you in here with this build? And if you're new, you have no idea. But it could cause them, and it has caused them, to have bad experiences. Those of us, clickbait, yeah. Those of us who are, the other thing is a nuance about this, guys. So Zynode rated me the other day with like 350 people. It was really nice. I tried to make a point to say thank you to him, like after the fact and everything. We can disagree and still be friends too. I can disagree with everybody and still be friends, right? And I can say I don't like some of Zynode's videos without saying that I hate Zynode, okay? Now, there are levels to this, so if someone always puts out garbage content, I probably don't like him. I'm probably not going to be friends with them. But what happens with someone like Hack the Minotaur, if they tell someone that this build is amazing, and then you look and the only place that does that guy even play the game? I don't know if he does. But the only place you see him is Fungal Grotto or like some overland content, and they're telling someone this build is unkillable in God mode. What if they go into a veteran trial with that build? What if they try and tank with that build? They're going to get wrecked, and they're going to get kicked out of the group, and people are going to be mean to them. And, it's very easy to trick people, and it's very hard to convince people that they've been tricked. So people will be like, Hack is great. I saw it in Zone Chat the other day. People were like recommending Hack the Minotaur builds. They're going to cause people to have a bad experience. And yeah, if you're running around Overland, any build will do, because literally Overland is that easy for the most part, besides a couple of world bosses or maybe some of the newer content. But usually the newer content, there's like 80 people there, so it's easy because of that. And that's the stuff that kind of upsets me about some of that stuff. Let me get back to these comments. Honestly, it feels like they let me see. When the game came out, players asked Zos team on one of their streams about how long they expected the game to last, and Zos said they planned and hoped that it would last 5 years. So it shows. Yeah, I guess it's already outlived its life expectancy. That's interesting, Barack. I would love to see that clip, man. If you have that anywhere, you could find it, send me a clip in Discord if you would. Or in YouTube, but Discord would probably be easiest. And then V-Boss says, honestly, it feels like they had Nephis on because they had this is V-Boss, Pet Asian for good PR. I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but to see how they treated him versus Skinny Cheeks, who is a golden child as wild. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they should have had him on because of the stuff that, the way he acted, but, whatever. Yeah, I think they could have found somebody else if they needed that for the PR, but I could totally see a corporation doing that. Absolutely. Terrell said they know people rather than Sijic instead of doing that awful quest line again. Yeah. They know people would rather buy Sijic order instead of doing that awful quest line again. Yeah, exactly. That's the pay for convenience kind of thing. And then Barack says that crafting bag was just as a subscription behind the scenes. Yeah, exactly. Just to force you into the subscription. If they could buy more storage with gold, that would be one thing, but no, you got to grind writs for them. Yeah, I mean, after a while, gold doesn't really mean anything to you too. So they need money from you. They need real dollars. Oh man. I mean, crafting surveys, that's definitely a thing. What else we got in here? Stuck in combat bug. That's hilarious that everybody put it first. I wonder if they came back and updated this with like we know about the stuck in combat bug, because it's literally the first thing everybody's putting up here. Launcher issues when the game server is actually on and available, but some things appear as an issue only there, like patch data errors, network ones, preventing opening the game if you're a stream user and can't go straight to the executable. I'm not sure I follow all of that, although I'm sure it's valid. Grim focus, constant glow, definitely feels like a bug category rather than a pain point. It just needs to be acknowledged and worked on. Light attacks not firing off even when close to flawless ping situations. Obviously, it's a pipeline situation, but I'm sure queuing one a la with one ability without button mashing can be solved with enough attention. Mashing situation is trickier, but more of a player issue, probably connected. So this is probably someone who knows a little bit about. So I think this is someone with some technical expertise would be my guess here. Probably connected to an issue of how we see ping and what actually happens server side. Glad that Fifth eludes me at this point. Might add it in later as a reply citing this post. Edit added a reply. Okay, cool. Pain points. Overland. Gameplay doesn't match the narrative. Quest suggesting danger where it's absent. Threats aren't threatening, okay? I'm not interested in harder incursions or some wandering bosses. Personally, the story from the zone and it being consequential and at least somewhat resembling an RPG would do enough. Yeah, this is a big problem. Thalen says no, it was clearly present up front. These people are just being people. Thalen, I'm sorry, I'm not quite following the thread with what that's in reference to. But please clarify for us. Would love to know. Inconsistent development. One day we got hybridization, but it's yet to be finished. Stuck in a limbo. Have we? Oh, no, we still haven't got this. You know, another issue, a pain point. Oh, reply stuck in combat. No, it was clearly present up front. These people are just being people. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Honestly, you know, that's what you get a little bit. But yeah, it's fine. They wasted one of their requests, but at least maybe they understand. Another issue that I have a serious pain point that I'm sure has to do with the spaghetti code of the game is that potions just being called one thing when they do different things. Potion of health, when it actually provides you with armor, which is like unique and very much different than other health potions. That's a huge problem. And it's a huge problem too, again, for new players, which is, again, a big part, right? Like those of us who play the game forever, we kind of just know and it's fine, but it's hard to explain to new players and it's confusing for them for no reason. You know, food, I'm trying to think of food and what else is an issue with the hybrid meta. But it's needlessly complicated in a few areas. I also think that classes, so there are 5 classes technically, I guess, roughly, that give a unique buff. I think that's right. Somebody correct me if I'm missing anything. So Nightblades give a unique critical damage buff for stamina, and then I believe Sorcerers give the magical version, or maybe it's Templars. I get these confused. And then DK versus Sorcerer or Templar, whatever the other one was, giving unique buffs, one of them stab, one of them mag. You don't get those buffs literally anywhere else in the game, okay? So that's an issue with group composition and making it where people are forced to run certain kinds of healers. The other thing is that you get unique buffs from a Warden as well with their ability to provide major resolve for the group, which is still the case even with the scribing skills, and also giving the increase, I forget what it's called, but it increases everybody's health. It's a unique buff that only a Warden can do. And it's like, well, now a Warden is meta. So if you want to come on a DK healer, there's no DK healers in the game because the meta. And Zoss knows that everybody, the average player, will follow the meta of the in-game players, and they don't do anything. Minor toughness, thank you for health. And they don't do anything to fix it. I would love for those buffs to either be put on multiple classes or something so that you were allowed and could have a varied group composition. Is having an optimal raid group set up with 6 or more of the highest parsing classes as your DDs, and then the supports to fill in the other buffs, is that still going to be meta for the most sweatiest groups? Yes. But if everybody could get those buffs from somewhere, it would mean that you could literally play the class you wanted to, even in veteran hard mode content. And I think a lot of people would love that. I personally would love that. And I think it would be good for the game as a whole. They said play the way you want. That's supposed to be one of their core things, and you can't play the way you want right now. So I would love to see that fixed. I think going along with that is the making classes easier for everybody so that all classes have an easy version, a 1-bar heavy attack style of build. Doesn't have to be heavy attack. So for Arcanist, you should use a beam. You should not do an Arcanist heavy attack. This is one of my issues. I think Hack the Minotaur has like a heavy attack build for an Arcanist. A beam lasts for 4.5 seconds. A heavy attack lasts for 1.8. A Arcanist beam build is easier easier than a heavy attack build. It's by far the easiest build in the game. And so it doesn't have to be completely symmetric, but there should be easy options for all classes so that everybody can play, even at a fairly high level. Barack says they need to change Sork to bit because their mobility is insane, and I main a Sork, so don't hate on me. Okay, they need to change it a bit. Okay, so just it's a little. I mean, I guess it's mostly. Are you talking about for PvP, Barack? Sork minor spell crit, Nightblade minor weapon crit, Plar minor spell damage, DK minor weapon damage. Boss, thank you. And then Warden the minor toughness. Arcanist minor evasion, even though Wardens. Well, and Arcanists also give minor tough or not minor toughness. Minor the resistance buff. Anyways, to an AoE, I don't know. You could argue about some of that, so it's kind of here or there, but I definitely think the damage buffs are pretty huge. And then providing like a unique or a reason to having each class in the group would also be cool, so that you want one of everything. So spreading the unique buffs out so that everybody wants it. Yeah, Arcanist, minor courage. We could go on an Arcanist. The beam is the heavy attack. Yeah, exactly. I want to make a DK healer. Yeah, I mean, I think there are other people that really would like to make a DK healer. They keep adding things in classes, lose their identity. Yeah, they could figure out if their philosophy is they want everybody to have a unique buff, then they could do that. Or if they don't want anybody to have a unique buff, they could do that. But I think you got to pick one or the other, and they should follow through with it, right? Right now, there's just no reason to want a lot of classes in a group group content, and it's kind of frustrating. It's upsetting, honestly. Did you talk about the need for more skin options for the pets? I would have been more interested in a Sork if the pets were cute. That's a great point, Lyriel. I have not. Thank you for bringing that up. For pets, yeah, having Sork pets are the Daedra. I know it's their theme, but it's a little bit weird. The other thing for a Warden, why couldn't we have different skins on those pets? I think a lot of people, they could even charge for that, and I think many people would be happy to pay. I don't know why I assume it's hard to do or there's a problem, but I honestly think that would be a great idea and that they should absolutely do that. And honestly, if they wanted to make a bunch of money on it and use that money to fix other stuff in the game, like, go for it. That's fine. I don't think anybody cares. I also love the bear, the Netch, but it would be fun to have more choices. I would never put Walter the bear away, but still. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Also with, the Necro, I mean, any class with pets, like having some other options there, because many of them do. Nightblade, your Shade, like I think there's other options there that could be really cool, that could be really fun. They just made the Sork pet red and it's 2,000 crowns. Oh my gosh. All right, well, they made it red. I guess that's better than nothing. If you could dress your pet. I mean... Oh my god, don't tell Lyriel that. Lyriel's gonna want her bear in a tutu or something cute. Yeah, Lyriel's all about that. Oh man. Guys, these are good ideas. These are all great ideas. We've been going for a while here, guys. I feel like I'm starting to lose my voice if I keep going. What do we got? Boss. I would actually shell out crowns to skin over the Warden Bear to the Chad Bear, who's secretly a cinch, retextured. Don't tell anyone it's a secret. Yeah. Mel says, so they would charge us 20,000 crowns to have an entirely different animal. Yeah, there you go. Too late. Now this is my number one ask. Red pet gives you a 5% damage buff. I'm sure that's a joke. Yeah, I think that's another great idea, and I think a lot of people have asked for that too over time. So it's really interesting. Man, we got all kinds of pain points. I think we got a lot of suggestion, guys. Here's what I would say. I would encourage you guys to go on the forums and to let them know, what you want to see. If we don't ask for it, there's no way we'll ever get it. This is going to be a huge list, and I think it could be very helpful. I will put some more thought in this offline and probably throw up what I'm thinking in the not too distant future. I think we kind of talked about it and kind of hit on a lot of the stuff that I'd like to see. Give it the Palico treatment for Monster Hunter. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. If Lyra wants cute, she should play Final Fantasy with my wife. We've tried it, man. There's a couple of issues, but some of the over sexualization is a bit of a turnoff for us on Final Fantasy, and it has its own art style as well. that can be kind of weird. It's weird that there's children, but also the game is like so sexualized. I know people will be like, they're not children, but they're children, right? So there's a lot of like weird stuff with it where it's like, I don't know about all that. I also can't do the tab targeting. I've tried like 3 or 4 times, but I just can't do the tab targeting. Uh, this could be its own installment series. Just on the pet smell, you mean? Uh, I'm not sure what you mean. All's wife is Asian, so I'm assuming he's referencing something with that, but I'm not sure what he means exactly. Or maybe it's the Asian, maybe it's the Asian art like art style maybe that you're referring to. Yeah. Um, the pain points and the bugs in ESO. Honestly, yeah, the pain points and the bugs. Do we need to come back and talk about this again, Mel? Maybe we need to. I mean, I think it was pretty cathartic for me, honestly, talking about some of this stuff and talking about some of the frustrations. I'm glad they're making a step in the right direction. I want to, with all the being honest and stuff, I really do, I would love to see them improve. I'd love to see them turn over a new leaf and this be a new chapter. That could happen, so, maybe keep providing them feedback would really help them out. Palicos are the cat sidekicks that have their own armor sets and styles of the Monster Hunter. Ah, okay. Where Moogle, I didn't know that. I'm thinking about getting into the newest Monster Hunter, but I haven't played up till now. Man, we got all kinds. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be pages and pages of stuff. So maybe we will come back. Maybe we'll pop back in later on in the week. I guess keep an eye out for that. But for now, I think we need to call it here for today, guys. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys. I appreciate everybody's input and feedback. Love the chat. And again, for all the negativity, I just want to say that we do hope that the game that we like to play does get better and that they do listen. And I think this is a huge step in the right direction. And it's hard to say how much this improves my feelings towards ZOS. I think it's absolutely big, like huge, big, huge. But really, it really does matter, and I think that is important, and I think it's important that we give them good feedback. So maybe we'll come back to this later on in the week. But for today, we're calling it here. Appreciate you guys all watching. Thanks everybody for dropping it in. Let me just go through. Take care. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Appreciate it. Babe, Barack, Zion, all my Babel, Mel, Lyriel. Just want to say everybody, we're Moogle. Hey, also a huge thanks to all of those of you guys who are channel members. Look at me. I like, was kind of like, let me, I'll pull this up. Maybe we'll look at some videos or something here. But we didn't even have time. So maybe we'll have to come back to this. Oh, I thought my channel members were supposed to be posted here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, we'll have to go back through all of them. I know Nani, I know All My has long been, many of you guys are channel members or support somewhere. It's a huge deal, guys. It makes it easy for me to do this and to continue to improve the website and do things. So anyways, I'm getting off topic. I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I always feel like I'm going to miss somebody. So please know that I do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Also, people that are watching and are sharing the videos, that's a huge deal. And it helps YouTube know that I'm making good content. So where Moogle says, glad to listen to your creator that isn't more interested in getting views than they are in just making wholesome content. Hey, where Moogle, I appreciate it, man. I figure if I make good content, then the views will come along the way. Well, guys, have a great evening. And hey, go on. Dev Team request. All right, find this. You can find it in the Discord. It's linked there in our general. I'm sorry. I think Thalen had linked it there. We can pin it if that will be more helpful. But go in, let these guys know your feedback, let them know what's an issue for you, and hopefully we can get them all on the same page and get some improvements going. All right, guys, you have a great night, and we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be playing some indie games and probably a little bit of ESO as well. All right, guys, have a great night.